another time.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday, the 6th of May, 2023. God save the king, etc., etc., etc. I'm your host, Ed Train. Joining me today, Zach Burgess.
King of podcasts.
And Robert Kemp.
Podcast Kings. TikTok
Collective
lifos.
Kings. Yeah.
I was thinking about it on the way down here. Like, I'm clearly the king of podcasts. Dan is the...
Really? But like,
you'll see the logic to that part of it in a minute.
Yeah, I need this broken down.
Dan is the prime minister of podcasts. Like, the guy who theoretically actually controls the podcast.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
And then Rob is the government of podcasts, the one who actually controls the podcast.
But I'm not the prime minister.
No, you do the functional part of the podcast.
Are you the civil service?
Am I the Penny Mordaunt of this?
You do all the work.
And I'm the king of podcasts because I'm the clearly just ceremonial role that just turns up. I don't actually manage any part
of podcasting art.
Well, yes, we can do that as well.
Hang on. There's a problem here because does this mean you receive the ceremonial spoon?
Why is a spoon related to our podcast now?
because I'm Glacial Spoon.
Yes, but why is the spoon involved at all? Where did this come from?
I'm involved right
of
here.
The coronation.
Yeah, isn't the ceremonial spoon one of the relics?
That wouldn't necessarily be the same in podcast land.
Oh, you reckon? What, you'd have different relics?
Yeah, probably. What would be a podcast relic?
Salad relics, like the pot of citron de menton.
Not a spoon, but like a fork, obviously. You don't need salad with a spoon.
In memory of microphones past.
Yeah, the blue snowball microphone of past, the orb,
the shock mount of the coronation.
Oh.
Praise be the
destiny.
orb.
Yeah. Praise be the orb. What was your favourite?
What part of the coronation?
Like, item.
No,
your favourite item, like weird thing. I like that. I was well into the the rod of equity and mercy.
The rod of equity. I mean, the spoon doesn't even get a mention. Right? It just sort of, I think it was in shot at one point, but it just sort of got, the only bit I saw was it being removed from the scene, like it had done something bad.
Well, everything has to be removed and taken out. Like, have you ever seen like the stupid opening of Parliament thing, where they're like, the sceptre has to come in and then it has to be moved around and it has to be taken out again.
On the door and...
Knock on the door. Don't let them in.
Looks like they let them in. Yeah, because then they put the crowns on, right, and then they like have to very obviously go into a back room to be like, right, we need to secure these crowns.
Yeah,
they don't fall off.
They've now been on your head, and we need to sanitize this,
and then put it back in its display case in the Tower of London or whatever, which is not actually where it really is, obviously, because that's obviously not the real one.
Yeah, no, that's a fake. Yeah. I don't know. How do you
Penny
feel?
Mordaunt was the star, though. I would say definitely.
Well,
like strange women distributing swords is no basis system of government.
Yes, a friend of mine from Suffolk Swords was like, "Ooh, good technique." Like,
she was technique.
So handling that sword well. Given that, wasn't it the sword that's like got a hilt that made entirely of like diamond or like
or
crystal,
two different
crystal
swords.
bits.
One of them was massive, and one of them was smaller, but like entirely diamond.
That must
basically.
be really uncomfortable.
The sword of state. Apparently, she's been doing push-ups and stuff, like in preparation. Good work, Penny Mordaunt.
I'd be more worried about the hand shredding. You know, like if it's like the hilt is entirely made of like crystal bits, it's like that can't be nice to hold.
I know.
It could be smoothed off, I guess. You don't normally make a diamond
coated?
Smooth. You normally cut them specifically.
Well, yeah, because otherwise it wouldn't be shiny.
Well, I mean, it would be, just not in the same way.
Yeah, maybe. It would be as, like, it wouldn't have the sparkle.
Done well, though. I think, in the Tory leadership race, she was a rival of Liz Truss. And then when Liz Truss got in for that 2 weeks, she made Penny Mordaunt the Lord Chancellor to, like, get her out of the way, because it's like a ceremonial role with no actual power. It's like, fuck you. I get to be like, you totally imploded, and I get to be like the most important thing going on at the coronation. Oops, that backfired.
I mean, I'm sure Penny would like a job. Like, a proper job.
A proper job, yeah. Well,
as long as you get paid. If you get paid for doing a non-proper job, then a bonus, I guess.
Yes.
But, like, what politician is happy with that?
Most of them, probably.
Yeah, that's true.
Do any of them really care about doing real work?
They want the proper job. They just don't know.
They want the power.
Yeah, they just don't deserve that job. That's the difference, right? They're bad at it, but they still want it. They're like most of the members of The Apprentice. Is how I feel about politicians, right? Is that they think they're the nuts.
They think they're good, but they're not. Yeah. They have no idea what's actually going on.
Not true. A single sausage.
You might as well just give it to the son of the last one. Praise and again forever.
Wait, hang on. Did that happened today?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Some things never change. War never changes. Nepotism never changes. Otherwise, it would be called something else.
Just surrounded by Nepo babies. Everyone in that church is a Nepo baby.
I just think, what
was it? Nepo.
What is baby Rob going to inherit? This
I don't. Yes, what's Rob's nepotism going to give that child?
Yeah.
Well, gaming ideally would be some kind of.
I mean, I've got that horrible suspicion that he's going to be one of those like
you can't possibly tell at this point.
No, you can't. But I have that suspicion he's going to be like I guess kind of me and Kippers were. We were the rebellious types again. Like we want absolutely nothing to do with whatever our parents do. But there's some following there, like parents' footsteps and things like that. And it's like
there's a difference between following in your parents' footsteps and being a rebel.
Yeah, I suppose.
I reckon I like a lot of the music that my dad liked, basically.
Sure.
Or that he was into and was excited to get me into, and I still like it.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of how that happens.
I guess I've gone more. Yeah, I think I've grown.
Not always,
more.
No.
No, yeah.
I mean, it depends, like what the angle was that you came at it. Probably.
Yeah.
Like if it was just some crap, if it was something that was forced on you that you weren't necessarily interested in, then you're inherently not going to like it.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I was indifferent to most of my dad's music, right? Because he would. I think it was like weekend mornings. He would basically just be like, "I'm taking over," and like this is
fair enough.
You know,
he's at home now, so he gets to take the radio. Or
I'm
whatever.
Putting the stereo up loud, or I'm putting some vinyl on. Yo, let's go.
Sure. I've decided I'm going to get some vinyl.
Some vinyl.
Yeah. Some vinyl.
Oh, vinyl. Okay, so it's like I need to,
in the form of records, presumably.
I need to be
in
more
the form of
vile.
records. Yeah, yeah. Not like vinyl wrapping my flat or anything.
Not some kind of clothes.
Yeah.
Go hardcore 80s. Well, no, that's not even 80s. Older than that.
Well, I didn't.
70s.
What, wearing vinyl?
Yeah.
Literal, like, yeah. I don't think that's the best material. It's not very beautiful, is it? No. Yeah, I didn't know what to do with. I've got my flat is only a few rooms because it's a small flat. So I've got the main room is the kitchen and living room combined, where I am now, and they've got a bedroom, bathroom, and little hallway. That's it. But I didn't know what to do with the walls of the hallway because they're nice color because they're painted like a nice blue color, but they're otherwise plain. I was thinking, well, I could get loads of pictures and stuff, but I've got pictures for the other rooms. And I was like, hang on, and I managed to find like where I can like put records like and with a wall hanging, so I can use those for decoration. That's my idea. So I'll keep my record collection on the wall, but then I need a record player, so I'm gonna get one that I can connect to my Bluetooth thingy for all mod cons. It won't be a fancy one, but then I think it would be stupid to just get records and not be able to play them. So I'm actually going to get a record player.
I mean, our downstairs bathroom is decorated by record covers in frames.
Yeah.
Rather than the records themselves. I don't know where the records that are meant to be in those covers are kept.
The records are, yeah.
I mean, that is kind of cool. Like, some album art is pretty rad, right? So
yeah, I'm going to get my favorite albums on vinyl and stick them up and then find some cool looking ones as well.
I mean, you could probably do that with like PlayStation games, right? Some of those old disc art is pretty cool.
Well, the ones that you can take the manual out of the front of the CD case, much easier to mount. Rather than have these like inch-thick dual case stick out of the wall. Because PlayStation cases are fat.
Oh, yeah, true. You probably don't want to mount the whole case. That's true.
No one's ever come close to that original PlayStation or PlayStation 2, like the spine where it's all the same font and black and white or whatever. It looks so cool on a shelf.
They've tried,
nowadays.
they've always just failed.
Yeah,
I think it definitely looks better. I don't know. The PS1 looks a lot better. I mean, was it
Yeah,
Nintendo tried it, right? All the GameCube discs have that same style.
They tried it, but like I said, they didn't really succeed. Like it's even just in the few GameCube games that I have, they're not all the same.
Yeah, Dreamcast did pretty well, but actually thinking about it, I'm pretty sure there's a couple of games that I own that actually have the game logo and not the text, not just written in the standard form.
They had a pretty decent. They had a decent size standardization for like GBA and DS. The GBA ones weren't, and there wasn't any design standardization really.
No, I guess not.
But then the DS ones were fairly standard along the edge. Although
because DS had a proper standard, like GBA games were just in like a cardboard box.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
But it did have some standardization. Like it always tried to have the title of the game or whatever on the side and that kind of thing. But the colors there was no design that was fixed on one side of the box or anything to show that it was the GBA game or anything.
No, I guess not.
But the DS ones had their plain edge.
And white the DS color with black text on it all the time with the Nintendo triangle at the bottom.
But the DS boxes weren't all the same size, so that kind of fucked up in that aspect.
I know import size was different as well.
Yeah, I have a couple of those. And sometimes the plastic wasn't even the same color. That might also be because of the imports. I don't remember which ones were the same, which ones were which.
I mean, you could argue that wasn't always true for PlayStation 1 either, because PlayStation 1 launched, I don't think in this country, but in other countries with the long box format, right? Which was a little more like the current DVD format, but fat. Like thick. But then I think by the time it reached the UK, I think we only got the fat jewel cases that broke super easily. But they're some good looking cases. I like those PS1 cases.
Yeah, cool.
What a time to be alive. Man, I think we got like super lucky with when we were born into like the gaming landscape, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we grew up at such an exciting time for it.
Well,
it's true.
It made us super hardcore, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
It's like whenever I think about if Robin's thinking about teaching his children about the internet and video games, it's like, how would you even do that?
Minecraft.
Sure, but that doesn't really. That's like.
I mean, I guess even Minecraft has quite a lot of skills.
Yeah, it's like, how do you. I'm sure we've all experienced plenty of times trying to teach older people how to use like a computer. And it's just like, how do you teach a child to do it? It's the same, except slightly different. But
did I tell you my mum forgot how to move files the other day?
Think you did.
Oh my God. No, I mean, some offense to I was about to say no offense to my mum, but some offense to my mum. There is no way she's putting it on. She must be putting it on. Like you can't forget such a core fundamental of using a computer.
And there's even like 3 or 4 different ways to do it in theory.
Oh boy.
Like, if you just remembered one of them.
Yeah.
Even one of the really inconvenient ones, like going through the file menu or something.
Okay, yeah, wow. That would be inconvenient.
But that's the thing. So like we were born at a time where we progressed through the technology naturally and just learned all these incredibly like super inside skills that just like, how are you even going to teach people that?
Yeah, I mean, how do you even like? I was just trying to. I mean, you and I actually, Dan, weren't we? We were talking about it the other day. Like, what do we actually? How did we start playing games, and like, how much of a jump is that really? Because it's like, okay,
it's like, what was the first thing that I ever did? Because Atari ST. How did I get into that?
Well, yeah, and like, I think the first proper game I played was a squash game on ZX Spectrum. That's the first one I remember.
How easy did that load?
I mean, not easily, because it's a Spectrum. I mean, I actually remember not knowing how to load games.
Right,
I always got Dad to do it.
Yeah.
Because what was it? Because it was very. He always described it as you got to do load print, and it's like the command actually is like you have to push like a function key, and then the button that has load written on it, and that puts the specific function into the command line. And by print, what he actually meant was that the button with print written on it actually had quote marks on it. So the command was load empty string, essentially. And then that would be what would queue up. Oh, you're loading something from the tape. So I didn't understand that part of it. But yeah, I mean, I must have played this. Well, actually, it was quite a well-made squash game for the Spectrum. Yeah. With the keyboard on a Spectrum.
Yep. Squeezy ass keyboard.
And it's like that was how I learned the trade somehow.
Yeah. It's like where I'm like, I mean, the Atari ST had a fucking operating system. How the hell did I learn that?
Yeah, with the little B or whatever the cursor was.
Sure, yeah.
Hourglass.
And I migrated to Amiga, right, which had AmiDOS and Workbench. Not AmiDOS, it was actually called Amiga DOS. But you didn't really use Workbench on the Amiga, you just put a disk in and it went, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the ST was the same in theory, but every now and then you get those disks where it didn't launch automatically and it went to the file browser.
There was I think skid marks did that on the Amiga. You'd put the disk in, and what it would actually do would load up Workbench, and you'd then have to double click the icon to launch the game, and then it would launch a launcher.
Yeah, because it was a multi-disc game as well.
Well, no, the skid marks was super weird because it actually had modem support.
Oh, right.
So like the launcher was actually there to, if you wanted to hook up the modems and get a multiplayer game going. Skidmarks was pretty advanced.
Yep.
Remember on the ST loading up like carrier command, being like, "What the hell is going on? What does any of this mean?"
I mean, that was the other.
That's the other we had, which were all pirate copies.
Well, yeah,
right?
that's the other thing. That like, how the hell did we learn anything? Where it's just like we had just discs with no manuals at all, and it's just like you just put them in and you just try and work out what the fuck's going on, and somehow we did in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the games were a lot simpler, right? So there wasn't too much to figure out. But
in some cases, it was just like even on the Atari, which had literally one button joysticks, it was just like it was still in some cases difficult to work out how to control games. Do you remember how we took so long to even work out how to play Road Wars?
Right, yeah.
Because it has like you have to like hold the button and then like push the stick, but then if you're not holding the button, you push the stick, it does something different, and then you can like double tap in a direction to open and close the sphere or whatever.
I mean, it wasn't that down or something.
Yeah,
down would put your shield up, and
you had to open and close at specific times. But then if you're holding the button, you can rotate the turret.
That was the bit I never really understood, like, because we just end up in the state where our turret is
just spinning. It's like, how do you do that?
It's like, how do we get out of this?
You only have one button to work with, and yet somehow it's like, how do these controls even work?
Yeah. I never figured that out. I never really understood the one button thing, right? Because in theory, the Amiga actually had 2 button support, and I had controllers that had 2 buttons on them, but they never worked as 2 buttons.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense because you would plug a mouse into the same port, and clearly left and right mouse buttons would work. And that was all they were really doing. They were sending mouse clicks, joysticks for those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. How did we learn any of that stuff? Was it just because like this stuff looks cool? We've got time on our hands because we're children. Let's figure it out.
Is that just how children learn things?
Time?
Because neither of us had consoles for a long time, right? As well. So okay, my cousin had a NES, and I was there quite a bit playing Mario 1. It was pretty much my jam. Consistently terrible at it. But at least I had that, and I was like, there was I learned a gamepad, I suppose, fairly early.
Yeah,
but I had all that after the Amiga training, I guess. So it was just like, I just need to transfer joystick to this thing, and it's
yes, because the first console I ever played at all was the N64.
Right? No, that can't be true. Because we used to play our friend Alex's 2600 on occasion. He had an old Atari 26.
I don't think I ever did.
Did you not?
No.
You know, the wood one.
But I don't think I ever did play that. You could argue that's in the same class as the Amiga and the ST. That's only technically a console.
I mean, yeah, you plug cartridges in, flip the button, and it played games. And it's knockoff, not knockoff. It was actually a proper version of Pac-Man, but like the weird version of Pac-Man, right?
Oh yeah. official knockoff, yeah.
Where he's got like a square mouth and the.
But by the time I owned an N64, I'd already had plenty of experience it from Dan and Rob. Like I was late into N64.
True. Because I actually think the N64 was probably my first console as well, because I didn't have a SNES, I didn't have a Genesis. I would play other people's at their houses.
I had a Game Gear, that was my
console. Yes, of course. Yeah, that would have predated the 64. Yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah.
I didn't have
okay, actually, now that you mentioned it, I guess
attached to the wall, basically, by the power
adapter,
because there's no way I would use batteries with that thing.
You could never use batteries with it.
Yes, now that you've mentioned that, I guess I played a lot of Dan's Game Gear, so maybe that would have been my first console as well, technically.
Yeah, we're computer geeks, really. We're not console geeks.
Yes.
That will change.
I mean, that's like, I probably learned what an exe file was from the Atari ST because they were still exe files.
Oh, right.
Like it actually says so when you're on the file browser, you can see what type of file it is. Load up the exe, that's the bit that makes the game work. Yeah, and then there's all this other crap you don't need to worry about. There's some TOS files or whatever.
TOS files, yes. Always a TOS. Toss them up. I think Workbench always hid the... I don't know if Amiga had extensions, actually. I don't remember ever seeing them.
And you did occasionally get those. The Atari ST had the weird. I don't even know how this works in the operating system of the ST. But like some disk, when you put the disk in, the file when it opens the file browser is actually the window is a specific shape and size, so it automatically has the exe, just only the exe in it. Like that's something that you can somehow make the OS detect when you're putting a disk in, to resize the window of the file browser to highlight the exe file that you need to run.
Yeah, it was like a... I wonder if, like, was the OS actually on the system, or did the disks always have to carry, like, a lightweight version of it?
It had, had that Atoms game built in.
Oh, yeah.
Go and play Atoms. And then you've got to remake it in Games Factory really badly several years later. Many years later.
Or play the quite good Amiga version.
Yes. The better version. So yes, get ready to somehow work out how to teach a child to learn to use technology.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be hard. They'll be watching me.
Yeah, but does that teach them though?
Yeah, I think with kids that probably does. And they look and go and want.
There's so much subtle stuff that, like, even when you're trying to teach older people, it's just like, when I was trying to teach my grandma how to use the internet in general, it's just like, how do you explain that, like, don't just click on things? Like, concepts like that, where it's like, you need to know what you're actually, like, you can't just open every email and just click on everything.
Oh, you see, I need to teach my mum the other side of that coin. She's afraid to click anything.
Well, that's
or
probably
do
better,
anything.
though.
Well, yeah, but like, I mean, she doesn't use the machine.
Sure.
So it's and that's why I get the call saying, "How do I do this?" And you click the thing that says do it.
A thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do wonder, looking at those collision software videos as well, which is on our YouTube channel, listeners, but all the games that we used to make, it's like, was it just that we had time, or like, I think it might probably
we had a lot of time.
We did, but we didn't have like broadband internet. Like that probably helped, because like, what else? I wonder if we had that, would we have used just access been on the internet
Facebook
instead?
And whatever.
Yeah, if we'd have
or Reddit or whatever,
or if we were perhaps slightly more affluent and just had games coming out of our ear holes, because if we had consoles, if we had Genesis and SNESes or whatever, would we have just been consuming rather than making
our own? Yeah, maybe.
Consume. Like,
still, that must have taken a lot of time to make all that stuff.
Well, yeah, because you could argue the only reason I do music now is because the Amiga had trackers, right? Yeah. And I could, it wasn't called fast. It was like Fast Tracker, but it was called something else, like Turbo Tracker or something. Like, it predated Fast Tracker, because Fast Tracker was obviously PC. But it was like a four. The Amiga only had 4 channels, so it was a 4-channel tracker, and I noticed that some games you could access their music from, like, the files of could just be accessed, and you could go like, oh, I can load the music for this game into Turbo Tracker, and then I can mess with it, and it's like, oh, that's cool.
Well, cool. Can you imagine? You could. I mean, we're so far from that now, right? Like, if a kid had a game now, would.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes you can still get the soundtrack files out of the game. Sometimes they allow you to do that.
But most of the time, with them, most of the time they're pre-recorded, like some sort of straight up audio file. Now they're not.
Yes, but very rarely is anything actually tracked any longer.
Yeah, it's an old. It's not since the end of the 16-bit era, really. Oh, no, that's not true. You could argue games like Rogue Squadron 2 on the GameCube, because that is a synthetic music system.
Sure.
I mean, some games do it, I guess. But it was on the way out.
But the fact that you could mess with it was what sparked.
Yeah. Or like games that just have WAV files, I guess, is the closest you're going to get. Even those are pretty rare now.
Again, it's another one of these situations. Like, how did we even learn to do any of that? How did we learn to open any file types? How did we understand the concept of what a file type even is?
Yeah, because basically, with the internet not around, you were safe to kind of just dick around with stuff.
Well, that's true. Unless you did something stupid, like
relatively safe.
The occasional accidents that we had, like that time where I managed to make my computer be only able to run Psycho Pinball. Like I edited the boot file somehow, and it only launches Psycho Pinball.
Or the time we tried to install Warcraft 2 on my PC, and it decided to wipe C drive. Motherfucker.
But your sound card worked perfectly.
My sound card did work perfectly.
Yeah. Good one.
Bloody thing. That was a bad time when it did that. Because it's like, how do we fix this? And like, of course, parents didn't. I didn't know. Parents didn't know. And it's like, we're gonna have to take it to a guy.
Yep. I don't remember how I fixed the boot issue I had with Psycho. I think I did actually manage to fix that. I think I managed to
find a way to boot off a different disc. Or something.
I think I was like, when you could still close the game, so you could get back to a DOS prompt.
Right, and
so
then you could
worked
go
out how to do it through DOS.
So if you could get back to the prompt, you could launch Windows and then go and edit the file. Yeah.
But it's not like you could Google it easily, like at the time.
No.
I'm not sure if I fucked up the file specifically, or like I installed the game wrong and it fucked up the file. It's like, how the hell would it have done that?
I mean, that was the problem with Warcraft, right? If you typed the wrong directory and it would, like we did, it just blattered whatever directory you told it. It didn't question it. That was the problem. Maybe they'd made the classic mistake that Eve made many, many years later of having their own file called bootini. Oh yeah,
and then accidentally overwriting the Windows one.
That's so bad. I reckon you probably couldn't do that now, right? Does modern Windows still?
Well, I mean, you think that happened that long ago?
No.
I mean, who knows how many systems that affected? Like, what specific version of Windows might have let that slip past?
Yeah. I was thinking about PC upgrades again this week.
Yeah.
I don't know why it just suddenly triggered, because I think basically what happened, I know what triggered it. What happened was a work update happened on my work PC, and it was one of those unceremonious, I'm restarting right bloody now, you bastard, kind of moments. And it's just like, what? Really? Like, this still they even run draconian management software that tries to put a pop-up up that says, we need to restart your machine. You've got an hour. And it didn't do that. It just went, and it's like, well, great, thanks for that. But not only did it do that, it and do some sort of update. Like, what it ended up doing was somehow messing up I guess it did a BIOS update or something on the machine, because it messed up the case fan configuration.
Right.
And so this is a noisy ass PC anyway. So I had tried to configure the fans so they only came on when necessary, lower the probability of them coming on a little bit.
Sure.
So it had forgotten all of that and had just turned them all on to maximum. So it was crazy noisy in here. So then I started looking at okay, this Ryzen processor runs hot. Is it supposed to run hot? Oh yeah, no, it really is supposed to run hot. Also, I'm a few generations out on on my knowledge of Ryzen processors. Let's go have a little look. Oh, right. Yeah, that means I need to update my PC build spec that I was thinking of getting. Right. So yeah, went through all that process and was like, holy crap, Ryzen's run, they're like designed to run at 95 degrees C. Designed to run at that.
Right.
So
like
super
hot.
That's very hot.
Like 70 or something max.
I mean, this PC like barely hits 50 to 60. It's an old Intel processor, but like it's that's a lot lower. Like apparently that's just like the optimum temperature that the best bang for buck, like power to performance wise, that those chips achieve. They just happens to be at 95 degrees, so they've designed around that, and it's like this is the sweet spot, to the point where Ryzen processors will actually boost up to make sure they're running at 95 degrees C. Like they have a target temperature of that, and then they'll throttle around it. So the better your cooler, the harder the processor will work to get back to that temperature, which is really interesting. But still, it's like, oh, is that going to heat this room up even more? With bits of me, I was thinking. Anyway, they're like the new 7000 series Ryzen chips. But yeah, I was starting to look at that stuff again. But it's got to the point now where it would be a completely new machine. Like as of a year ago, I was thinking I could get away with doing some of the bits and not all of the bits. But no, we're past that now. It's all of the bit stuff. Like I think they dropped DDR4 as a technology now. So if you're going to be building with new chipsets and stuff and new motherboards, you need DDR5 memory. So yeah, that was kind of the final straw. It's like, balls, right? I'm just in new PC new PC town now, which leads me on to what the crap do I do with my weird Windows installs, right? So I'm currently running like a non.
Oh right, yeah.
I'm currently running a dual boot to try and keep like music and podcast and production stuff separate from the gaming side. Just because installing all of that stuff is a royal pain in the jacksy.
Yeah, but that's why you preserved the last one, though. It's because it was such a mess that it was basically impossible to untangle. Well, like, you couldn't have even really made a fresh version of that Windows and rebuilt it at that point.
If you care about
so fucked up.
If you care about revisiting old projects in music land, like rebuilding a system that has everything you once had is incredibly arduous. Not easy. So I haven't done it, and as a result, but I don't think I'm running like a secure boot or anything like that, because like I have to run this because my old OS install didn't have any of that stuff when I made it, and I didn't want to trash it. And then I put the new OS on for the gaming side and stuff like that. New copy, the dual boot. I think the two didn't get on having both one UEFI on and one UEFI off. Right. So I think they're both off. But now Windows 11, if I was to go do a whole new build, Windows 11 requires that. You can't run a non-UEFI system anymore. So I'm like, would I be boned now? Like, if I wanted to run a Windows 11 machine, do I have to start again? And if I have to start again, does it make sense to just have a completely separate machine? Like, rather than...
Right, yeah.
Because this one's filled with hard disks as well. It's like it's to the brim with disks, and it's like, well, maybe I just get one really massive disk.
I mean, yes, but also like you have a NAS drive.
I have that.
Get more of that stuff off.
The NAS is for backup. The NAS is nearly full as well, so I probably need more drives for that. Videos take up space, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Happy Salad needs space.
Because clearly it's very important to back up all our bullshit.
I mean, I guess YouTube does it as well, but I don't back up the raw or anything. I only back up the final product, but because that would be insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's my little random investigation into PC. It also would be super expensive. Like, oh my god, has PC since last I looked like a year or so ago, PC prices have gone mental.
At least graphic cards prices are sort of more reasonable-ish, kind of.
Sort of, yeah. Actually, the graphics card is the thing I probably don't need to replace right away. I mean, I'm still running a 1080, which is not modern now, but it's... I'm using my PC for gaming less and less these days. Like, it's good enough to run Derg, which is all I need. I can run Derg at max settings at high frame rate. It's fine. I'm really interested in that CPU juice now. Need that juice. And I would probably go Ryzen at this point in time because they're powerful and a little bit cheaper than Intel's. But if you were to go graphics, would you go AMD at this point? Or is the allure of DLSS just, and some of the NVIDIA specific tech just that little bit too much? I can't decide.
Yeah, they do seem to have the edge on that stuff, don't they? I mean, you basically, if you want to try that cyberpunk crazy mode or whatever, you basically have to have.
Sure, yeah. AMD aren't quite caught up with ray tracing. They're not caught up with the, I guess, machine learned anti-aliasing techniques that we have thanks to DLSS. They have their FSR thing, which isn't bad, but isn't as good. But they're much better value cards. That's the problem. They kind of AMD occupy that space that they've always occupied, and that it's like, yeah, sure, their cards have got expensive too, but not as expensive as Nvidia's. Anywho, I'm thinking about all this. I probably won't pull the trigger.
Well, I need to be thinking more about it.
You definitely need to pull the trigger. Yeah. I mean, if I pull the trigger, you could probably have this. So.
I don't want your old crap machine full of stuff.
Well, no, it would just be the pieces. I wouldn't give you any of my drives.
What is your plan, Zach?
I still don't know. I still need to look at it more. But now, as I mentioned to Rob earlier when we were talking about Steam updates that have just been happening, I now have a countdown on my Steam window to constantly remind me that I only have 240 days until it just stops working.
Yeah.
Oh, really? For what reason?
Because Google
stopped supporting Chrome at the start of this year.
Yeah.
And therefore everyone else is just like, anything that uses Chromium is just, we're just not going to support that on Windows 7 any longer.
Sorry, clarify. Yeah, Windows.
What is the bottleneck then?
So Chrome and the Chromium project no longer support Windows 7 or 8.1
on Windows 7.
Basically 10 onwards is the cutoff, which is fair because the Windows support window has ended for those some time ago. But because almost anything on the planet is Chromium powered now.
Literally everything.
A lot of the main services are now turning around and going, well, we can't really support old Windows either.
But are you saying, Zach, you won't? You could upgrade on your current machine, couldn't you? Or is it impossible?
You could, in theory, but like,
I mean, the free Windows 10 window is not about, is it?
It's over, so you have to buy it.
And your machine probably couldn't deal with 11. No, it's old enough that it probably doesn't have the stuff you need.
It would only be a 10 upgrade if it was going to be upgraded, but I don't think as always, what I've said about it is just like, that's the reason I didn't upgrade it to 10 during the free window. I was just like, I don't want to risk that one on this, because my machine was old even then.
7 to 10 was fine. There was no real hassle there. Unfortunately,
unfortunately, I seem to remember that it didn't go well at the start.
It wasn't a hassle for me, because I installed one fresh and I moved one OS from 7 to 10, and it was fine. 11's a problem.
Oh yeah.
And in theory, they're doing it. I think they're starting to talk about a 12 already. I think I heard that. Windows 10 is the last version of Windows.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because they only really need the numbers now for marketing, right? Because I mean, I don't know. It was always just for marketing.
Well, they need something to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is a version upgrade is a money spinner for Microsoft. It's like you've got to buy more licenses.
Thankfully, we haven't gone to subscription Windows yet. Because goddamn it, I'm just thought they would if they could.
Yeah, I think that.
But I think there'd be a major rebellion about that one.
As much, I think Apple are probably the people that will do it first if they're going to. I mean, Apple are way more aggressive with their cutoff points, aren't they? In their OSs, they don't last nearly as long before you cannot buy software for this OS anymore. You are screwed, and then therefore your hardware is also screwed. So, yeah, if anyone's going to do it, I bet it will be Apple.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Anyway, tech update. This is a podcast about video games. We've sort of touched on video games.
Yep. Sort of.
But let's go into video games proper with the news.
Not that there's much to talk about on that front this week.
I know. When I hear the Microsoft Activision rundowns,
there's not much to talk about on that front.
I mean, I've got some
it for so long.
I mean, I've got some other nonsense we can fill time with before video games, if you want.
Oh, more nonsense. Okay,
any more kitchen bits of the slash house ground?
No, not really. Other than
maybe whatever we're calling that section, I've forgotten.
Yeah, I don't know. I've forgotten already. The delinquent diaries, I don't know.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, there's still leak action in Needham, so you know that's news. I guess Zach is still pleased.
Needham leaks.
Yeah, I watched that new Guy Ritchie film because it came out. It's Operation Fortune.
Right.
It's not good.
Is it a historical? Well, I haven't heard anything about it. I think I heard about the last one, but not this one.
It's sort of a slightly old. Well, The Gentleman was great. I enjoyed The Gentleman quite a bit. But Operation Fortune it's a Jason Statham and Aubrey Plaza thing. Who, and in fairness to them, they are themselves, and they are pretty good at being themselves. So that's fine. I have no beef with them. And generally, I have no beef with Guy Ritchie. I think his stuff is I quite enjoy pretty much anything he ever makes. And in fairness to this film, I was kind of enjoying it. It just makes no bloody sense. So it's a sort of old school spy thing, like think Mission Impossible sort of kind of thing, where they're a contract or a contracted organization, a team of misfits, if you will, that get contracted by the UK government to do the things they probably can't be seen to want to do themselves. And so they're tasked with trying to figure out what happened to a weapon, but they don't know. But nobody seems to know what the weapon is that was stolen from a secret facility. Like, it's so secret, even the people that run the facility don't know what it is.
I see.
And so, plays out this pretty old school cat and mouse game of trying to outfox Hugh Grant. As you do. And it's like, okay, Hugh Grant's in it as well, being Hugh Grant, and he's pretty good. I can't really fault the performances. That's not the problem. The problem is the plot is just totally nonsensical, and it feels like it's like one of those films where the edit got in the way. Like there were more ideas and more things afloat, but the edit didn't quite cut everything correctly.
Right.
There's like the odd line here and there, and the odd bits of dialogue that when the film rolls its credits, you go, wait, but hang on, they didn't resolve that whole thing that they talked about there. And why did this guy... Okay, slight spoilers. Right at the start of the film, it's revealed that Aubrey Plaza's character is coming in to replace the old comms guy, known only as John, who... Jason Statham's character, who, by the way, is called Orson Fortune. Just let that sink in. What a name.
Orson. Like Orson Welles.
Yeah.
Orson Fortune. Nice. Should have considered that for the baby name.
Orson. Yeah. I don't think that came up. Yeah.
No.
Who's replacing this guy? And he's like, I like John. Spoilers, it turns out John is working for the bad guys.
Obviously.
And there's a whole thing about John being better than Aubrey's.
Like, right, they're having a face, having a hacker fight or whatever.
Well, not but that never happens.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. And
they just keep saying it, but it's not actually resolved.
It never happens. Yeah, and there's even weirder than that. There's a line in John's very last scene where there's some kind of like money interception going on, and he's like, no, I've got this because I'm better than them. I'm better than them, and he stops this money transaction or something from going to where they were diverting it to. And then that's never brought up again. Like, why did you do that?
They didn't actually need that transaction after all.
Was that important? There's an awful lot of money there. Like, who's now got that money? That's kind of important. Like, I don't know. Yeah. There's a few things like that, sprinkled throughout it that are just like, oh, okay, this went through a dodgy edit. Anyway, that's my Guy Ritchie minute. It was a fun time. It's just not a good movie.
Bad.
There is value in that. I know we all enjoy a bit of that from time to time. And the other thing I will say is I am 80% of the way through Picard season 3, and it continues to be really damn good.
Yeah, I heard good things. I'm going to watch it.
It's really good, actually. Like,
excellent. Yeah, that's why I'm just skip the first 2 seasons of Picard and just watch the third one.
That is perfect. They do reference stuff that happened in the first 2 seasons, but you can live without it. You kind of have to know a few things, like Picard's not Picard anymore, right? He's an android. He's a positronic body now.
Right. Okay.
That's probably about it. There's a few, and it's basically just entirely about getting the old band back together in some ways, and it's kind of great. It's kind of great.
Yeah.
They're in space, so that let's have that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so far, I don't think there's been any time travel, which also helps.
It's coming, though, surely.
I don't know.
There's always some kind of time travel.
Star Trek can't help time travel.
No. I don't mind it in Star Trek, as long as they don't put it in fucking Star Wars. We'll be okay.
Oh, no. Now that you've said it, I'm already like, oh, yeah, that's totally what they're going to do, aren't they?
They are. They're definitely going to do it, yeah.
No, they can't. Star Wars tech is sufficient. Is like intentionally I think
time travel goes too far. Like the Ahsoka trailer kind of hints that it might be time travel. I don't know.
They'll come up with some bullshit reason that you have Star Wars time travel. Like it's going to be like some hyperspace error or something. Where you go into hyperspace, but you accidentally move through time instead of space or whatever.
Okay, that would be kind of cool.
Idea. It doesn't fit.
Yes, but the hyperspace is already fucked. We've already had Force Awakens to screw up hyperspace. We all know about it.
Oh, that's true. That'd be kind of Force Awakens. It was the last one. The fucking.
It'd be kind of cool.
Worst.
It'd be kind of cool if they did it like in that way, like some sort of glitch causes you to perhaps like. You've lost years, right? So you've been in hyperspace for some weird period of time and come back like 50 years later. I
think that is in the old extended universe lore that happens in Star Wars. There's been slow hyperspace,
right? As long as you then don't say like you can go backwards, right? As long as you don't break that by saying you can go back, you just live with it. You're Fry from Futurama. You're screwed.
Yeah,
you're in. That I'm okay with. I'm totally okay with that.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Would that just be a weirdly contrived reason to have a convenient way to reboot the Star Wars universe but not reboot it?
Or to bring old characters into the current timeline, sure.
We've accidentally ended up 1,000 years in the future, so none of that previous stuff matters any longer, so we can do the whole free trilogy of movies again.
Sure.
Future dev stuff.
You know what? Whatever, I'm on. That's all right. The Force Awakens is still a pretty great movie, even though it's a retread. So I'm okay. I'm all right.
You're 1/3 okay.
I'm 1/3 okay. Yeah. It's 33% acceptable plan, depending on what you do with the rest of the trilogy. There hasn't really been any news on that, has there, about
what Disney's doing with Star Wars? Apart from the things that they're currently releasing, yes.
Yeah, or they're not. There's no new trilogy plan, and
we haven't had a bunch of people in Ireland flying drones over Star Wars ships yet.
Right? Yeah.
I think they're shit is going to come, but it'll take a while for them to make. They should just stop. Quit while they're ahead. Well, not that they are ahead.
Quit while they're not completely fucked.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, never mind. They never will.
Anyway, sorry. I've derailed for long enough. That was all I got to say.
Let's get in it.
Watch Picard potentially skip Operation Fortune. Go watch it when you're high.
Rex. Good Rex. Okay.
News. Right.
Come on then. There may be not much. But
let's do the biggie.
What's going on?
The UK's CMA is currently blocking the purchase of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft. And I don't understand the reasoning. I'm hoping Zach might be able to explain this with some amount of logic.
Not really. I haven't seen any kind of deep dive explanations of what exactly is going on.
I really want to see there's a YouTube channel called Hogue Law where that's pretty good with this sort of stuff, and I'm yet to see him weigh in.
I mean, he's having problems at the moment.
Yes, he is. Shout out to Hogue.
Maybe I should specify that slightly more and not just laugh about it, because he had a stroke.
Yeah,
that's the problem that I'm referring to.
It's a pretty
He's
big.
recovered really well though.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. But shout out to him, absolutely. But yeah, his content is on this sort of material is normally pretty great.
Yeah.
So when he does do some breakdowns, I'm all over it. But yeah, at the moment, what it looks like is basically the UK they're not interested in the console market. After all that kind of positioning from Microsoft and Sony and all that stuff, that is not the problem there.
It kind of seems like they were worried about the console market initially, and then Microsoft were like, "Don't worry about it. We'll make all these promises, and we'll put Call of Duty on every console for 10 years." And then at the last minute, they've just been like, "But what about cloud gaming? Oh shit!"
Here's the surprise, motherfucker.
Here's the thing about that, though. Microsoft have been doing the same thing in that space as well. They wrote an agreement to NVIDIA because NVIDIA raised concerns.
Right, yeah.
Because apparently the NVIDIA streaming platform is noteworthy. I don't know. I honestly don't know how the NVIDIA stuff works. As far as I'm aware, it lets you access your own Steam library and you pay a subscription to them. And it's so I'm not sure NVIDIA sells the games. I don't quite know how that works. That you're just paying for hardware access, I guess.
I mean, some kind of weird Steam Deck almost.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know if you can access through. I assume you can access it through your PC if you want, but it's I think it was originally designed for the the NVIDIA Shield.
Yeah.
And those products. Anywho, yeah. So Microsoft have already been in that space, and have written to NVIDIA and sort of, I don't know if they signed any agreements with NVIDIA or something, but basically saying look, we're not going to hold back anything we were doing from you either. It's this doesn't change anything. You're welcome to Call of Duty, that kind of stuff.
But maybe it was different because of the way NVIDIA works.
NVIDIA responded to that at the time, saying this has alleviated our concerns.
Right.
So NVIDIA are placated effectively.
But doesn't that, because of the way the NVIDIA one works, it's sort of, it would be more of a case of just locking up the Windows Store or whatever, except for obviously Steam as well. But it's not exactly the same as Sony's competing product of the Sony streaming service that only works on PlayStation.
Yeah, and the Sony streaming service isn't the same as Game Pass.
No.
I don't even know if it's what it's called. Is it Game Pass Streaming, or is it, because it's not Project xCloud anymore? I think it might just be called Game Pass Streaming now. It's not the same, because the PlayStation Plus offering isn't. I don't think they let you stream the entire PlayStation Plus library. I think it's primarily designed as a way of getting around PlayStation 3 emulation of all things.
Right.
Because Sony haven't got PlayStation 3 emulation, but the emulation scene is doing that for them, it seems, at the moment. So they stream those games to the console. I don't know. I don't know that there is. I mean, maybe that's the problem, that it is only Microsoft and NVIDIA in that space, and Sony actually aren't in that space. And so owning Call of Duty and stuff actually then is the console war argument, but between Microsoft and NVIDIA instead of Microsoft and Sony.
Well, or the fact that theoretically Sony wants to start doing this stuff, but hasn't yet really. It's the problem might be that there's a lot of predictions going on where it's the game streaming market is going to become bigger, and you're going to want several different companies to be competing in it, and therefore we can't allow this monopoly to happen before the competition even exists.
I mean, I guess my argument against that, and in fairness, I don't. This is going to come out every time we talk about this, it sounds like I'm defending Microsoft a bit too much. But I just don't see the logic in this. there have been competitors. People have tried long before Game Pass streaming, and they have come and gone.
Yeah, but that's because the technology was older. That's like we're still in the making this work phase of this thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I don't know that it's even the only proven business model for it is Nvidia's. Right, everyone else has failed. The Game Pass streaming is a free add-on to Game Pass, so it's hard to judge whether or not it on its works on its own merits. Are people coming to Game Pass just to stream? And unless Microsoft tell us that, I don't think we know at this point. So Nvidia are the only people big. I mean, there are actually quite a lot of little streaming companies about now. Like every time I was at AGX, there'd be a little booth for maybe one or two companies that were running competing. Oh, you can stream off our own hardware and run your own Steam library off our hardware, like exactly like what Nvidia are doing, but someone else. I think there's quite a few of those about, and
I think that's the idea, right? Is that like because we're still at the point where the people are trying to get into this. It's because the comparison that people will make is to like how it shouldn't be a problem if Microsoft and Sony make two different streaming platforms because you will just subscribe to both of them like you do with Netflix and Amazon and all the other streaming services on the visual media side of things.
Sure.
Like subscribing to multiple services is not an unusual thing any longer.
No, assuming they're all a decent price.
But that was a different situation because all the big companies like got in that simultaneously, essentially, and the technology already existed. It's like it wasn't really having to work these things out and then like startups and whatever. It was just the big companies were just like, oh yeah, we can just like make a YouTube or whatever.
Right,
Not really, but similar. Whereas in this case, it's like because
the technology got good enough and more and readily available enough that like anyone could do it to an extent.
But then
that's why we have so many like channel only like platforms for your smart TV.
But in the streaming case, it's like people haven't worked that out yet, and then the implication is that like if you at this point allow Microsoft to get Call of Duty, and then that does influence the market much more severely because there's less options at this point. But then if you're going to get people into Microsoft before the other people can even compete.
I mean, do they have the incorrect assumption that it was Microsoft that killed Stadia? I mean,
I don't think so.
I mean, yeah.
I don't think they know about Stadia.
You think? Because, like, yeah, Stadia killed itself with a bad business model. Like, not because of tech.
But then is that an argument in favour of blocking the monopoly? If you're even considering that maybe there's like some aspect of the tech side of it where it's like if Microsoft monopolizes the tech, I mean they should, because that's not the same as monopolizing content.
No, but they also can't now, right? Because multiple people own that sort of tech. Sony have that tech, thanks to who did they buy? Playdia? No, not Playdia. Playdia. That's too much like Stadia. They bought a company that were doing this before anyone else.
Yes.
Amazon's got that tech, and they've been trialing it supposedly internally, but they've not released anything.
But it does just seem like
I might be wrong on that. I can't remember the Amazon side of it, but Google obviously tried and failed. They have that tech.
It does just seem like the regulators made Microsoft promise to release Call of Duty everywhere and then forgot to make them to promise to release it everywhere on streaming.
But they sort of have. That's the thing.
Not as much.
Yeah, I guess
not as vigorously.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. But like, what would it take? They just have to ask Microsoft, and Microsoft would be like, "Yeah, whatever." At this point, it's like we're putting it everywhere else.
Maybe,
why not? Yeah.
Maybe when they go to appeal or whatever, they'll be like, well, maybe we will allow Call of Duty on Sony's streaming service. You don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't ask.
I mean, that's exactly what I mean. I don't think Microsoft would say, no, we're on this one particular thing, we're going to hold COD back. Like, why would we do that?
Unless there is some kind of like, I like additional. Maybe there's some additional like layer to this to do with King or something, where it's like they're monopolizing the mobile streaming market, even though that is just the mobile market
there. Yeah, I don't know. That's a thing.
No, I don't know what like This is the problem with this. It seems like this is weirdly too unspecific at this point in this process, and kind of late to suddenly come up with this.
And to also throw an additional wrinkle into what you could argue is that marketplace. You've got people like Capcom and Ubisoft doing cloud versions of their games for the Switch. Right. So those are technically cloud streaming games that you buy like a game on the Switch, but it's actually running off.
But it's not in a service. It's just a background thing that runs the game.
So they're using some background technology to run it off Capcom or Ubisoft, which are probably using some other service to run their games. So the cloud market is a bit more complicated than having... I mean, even if Microsoft did have a monopoly, there's nothing stopping publishers from doing that, right? And being like, well, we're just going to sell you a game, but it's actually streaming. Like, you've bought you've bought the cloud version of this game, so we'll give you a client with which to play it.
Maybe.
It's a super weird marketplace because it's kind of undefined.
Yes,
like
it doesn't properly exist yet, really.
Yeah. So how can you claim monopolies upon it? It's so weird. It's so strange. I can't wait for this breakdown.
That does seem like that's the angle, right? It's because it's such a small market that any amount of monopolization is bad.
And because it's Microsoft, probably that, and they've got so much money behind it, probably they look at it and go, well, you could dominate if you wanted.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that opinion, but maybe that's what they're thinking. What do I know? I'm just a dude in a hot room on a mic.
Not that hot yet. It's starting to warm up.
It is starting to warm up.
We're only halfway through the podcast.
I'm going to put the fan on.
I opened my window for the first time this year.
Yep, we've been doing that in the living room. It definitely got warm in there.
Actually, I opened it yesterday when there was a thunderstorm going on because thunderstorms are cool.
It was a rad one as well.
Yeah. How did your baby like it?
Indifferent.
Okay.
Couldn't give a monkeys. I went out driving actually because I went to play squash last night and was driving in it and got to see some proper lovely ground striking lightning bolts. It was a good one. Local news.
First one of the year.
Yeah. Probably proper bassy rumbles.
Well, that's why I was wondering if the baby would have noticed, because it's always the bassy ones that get animals, right?
I suppose.
When it's the short, sharp, obviously the short, sharp ones piss them off as well. It's a different effect.
Yeah.
It's less shock and more terror.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, no, Mars didn't seem fussed at all by the lightning and the thunder. I mean,
it wasn't super ground strikey, like literally here. Like you can see them, but they weren't like hitting directly next to your house and making it extremely loud.
No, it was still some way off. But it was pretty clear, the couple that I saw, though. Not like fudged by cloud cover or whatever, or blurred out. They were pretty sharp. I don't think it was too far away.
I looked on the lightning map and it was like,
oh yeah, that cool thing. I love that thing.
Happening relatively close by.
Yeah.
But that map doesn't distinguish ground and cloud strikes. So
yeah.
You never can tell. I'm sure there was a version of, maybe not on that same website, but I'm sure I've seen a version of lightning trackers that can distinguish cloud strikes and ground strikes.
I wonder how they do that. Like, does someone have to be like, I've seen this?
No, I don't think it's visually. I think it's I think you can detect it electronically. Like the electromagnetic wave that comes off it is different between a ground strike and a cloud strike. I think it's because it's literally the opposite charge.
Oh, interesting.
Like when it's cloud to ground, it's like positive or something, and then cloud strikes are negative.
Right.
I don't know how that works.
That always the same.
Yeah, because I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to claim to understand it, but I guess the clouds charge one way and the ground is sort of a neutral.
I mean, that's how it's always represented in those. Like, how does lightning work? Where it's like because the cloud is generating a static charge, it gets like negative, and then the ground is positive, and then it earths it or whatever. But then
relatively positive, I guess.
Yeah. But then it's like, how does that work between two clouds? And then maybe that's why it's a different charge.
Yeah.
We don't really know. Look up the sites yourself on Wikipedia or ask ChatGPT to tell you a lie about it.
Do you see that thing that Google, put a demo for Bard up, and the very first thing it said was incorrect?
Well, I tested it one time.
Wasn't it? They were saying that there was the JS. How do you pronounce it? How do you say it? That telescope? Is it the JSWT?
Yeah,
James Webb,
James Webb,
JWST. That way around. Yeah. It was like, this is the first one to take pictures of exoplanets, and it's like, no, it's not.
It depends on your definition of picture, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I randomly got into that early version of Bard, and I was just I was thinking about trying it more, but I only really tested it one time, and I was like, oh, yep, that works the same. It looks good, apart from the one bit that's completely wrong.
Could you ask it about the Activision Blizzard takeover?
Probably. No, I was testing it on. I was just like, okay, this is something I'm thinking about that I'm not 100% sure about, and then I was just looking up on Wikipedia. But let's just put this question into Bard and see what it says. So I was asking about like the difference, or why there is a difference between chemical reactions being endothermic and exothermic. Okay. Like what actually causes that exactly? And it got the sciencey part of that right. But then when it tried to do like a real world example to like, make it simpler or whatever, it hilariously cocked it up, where it's just like, it was talking about when you're cooking an egg, the reason the white goes from clear to white is because of the chemical reaction, which is an exothermic chemical reaction. And it was just using that as an example.
Is it?
Well, I mean, I don't even know if that part's true or not, but it could well be. But then it hilariously, the bit that it got wrong, it was like, and it was like, the reason the egg white changes from clear to white is because of a chemical reaction, which is an exothermic reaction, which is why the pan gets hot. And it's like, you seem to have fundamentally misunderstood what cooking is.
Amazing. I love that.
It's just make a connection. It's like, okay, there's heat here.
Yeah.
Okay.
The heat must have come from the reaction.
It would be really convenient if you could heat up a pan by just chucking an egg in it.
It cooks itself, yeah.
I mean, that's amazing, though, isn't it? That it made that. If it's quote unquote thought process put that together in that way, that's kind of amazing, but also hilarious.
Yep.
Well, like that's how it's looking at what it just said, right? And what it expects you, what makes most sense according to the model to say next. So it obviously has the context of, I just said this thing gave out heat. And it's in a hot situation.
And it was trying to create that kind of traditional example where you end with, and that's why the thing happened.
Yeah.
It knew that form.
Fit that form, yeah.
TLDR, pan got hot because of egg.
It's so interesting. I find it more interesting when it fucks up than when it gets it right. Yeah. Because it's how it's trying.
It makes it mildly worrying that Microsoft have lent into it so hard.
Everyone has tried to lean into it so hard.
Well, yeah, but at least most people have launched it as separate services, because it's like Bing is now one of those.
Yeah, it's just integrated.
So it's like, yeah, the things it could suggest might actually just be total nonsense now. So I guess that was Bing before anyway. But
it's all search engines, technically. Yeah. Not because of AI, usually. It's just because there's bullshit on the internet.
You just got to use Bing every now and then to get your Microsoft reward points up. Yeah.
Obviously. What else is going on in news? Not anything as much.
No, it's not as interesting as Activision Blizzard. We should probably talk about. Let's start. I'm going to start with Jedi Survivor.
Yep.
Because that seems like it's a pretty good game on console.
Yep.
The PC version is atrocious.
Right.
And this shouldn't come as a surprise to us, because apparently Fallen Order wasn't a particularly well optimized game for PC.
I don't remember anyone complaining about it this much. That one.
No, I mean, I think Digital Foundry did, but they did their usual. This isn't good enough.
But what is for Digital Foundry, really?
Sure. But I mean, they really tore it apart, and then they look at this one and go, "Nothing has changed. It's the same. It's the same." Like, all of the same problems are here.
Which is what you would expect, I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't buy it on PC, which makes it all the more annoying, like, and frustrating, I guess, when it turns up on Steam's, like, best-selling list. There's like, yeah, the Jedi Survivor is climbing the charts. And you're like...
What's his Steam review rating?
I don't know, actually. Yeah,
you can click on the window. It's open right now.
It is. Yeah, we can check that out. But anyway, yeah, it's a classic thing where, like... it seems like it's very difficult for PC developers to get shader compilation issues sorted. That is it is an interesting thing, shader compilation. It's a weird quirk of modern 3D graphics, but that just takes so much time to get right. And if you try and do it on the fly, you're in for trouble. Because it basically interrupts pretty much anything that the GPU is up to when you do it.
What is the deal, though? Like, why can't they predict what shaders going to need?
Well, most games on PC do, and in fact, a lot of console games do as well. So, like, I don't know if you've. When was the last time you played a Forza Horizon game and wondered why the hell is this taking so long to load? That's what it's doing. Like, behind the scenes, it's doing shader compilation and preparing stuff for. On PC, it's slightly more challenging, right? Because you don't know what hardware you're running on.
Yeah.
So actually, some games on console will actually have already pre-compiled all the shaders as part of the code they ship, right? So everything's ready to go. But on PC, they can't do that. They have to.
Sure.
They have to tailor the game to what you're running. So often there can be an extended load the first time you launch a game because it's trying to figure that stuff out. And then in theory, if you don't change your hardware, it's got that nailed, and you should be okay. And Jedi Survivor actually does have one of those steps. It does that on launch of the game. It will go, right, I'm compiling some stuff. I'm sorting this out for you. You should be good. And then still exhibits what look like classic shader lock compilation hitching when you run the game. So it's almost like it does that pass, caches up a whole bunch of stuff, and then throws it away.
And then chucks it away.
Just decides this isn't what I needed after all at all. Why did we do this? Yeah, so it's like, it's okay, it's down the list, but it's there.
Oh, it's mixed though. What percentage?
Come on, new Steam, load the actual information. Yeah, mixed reviews. Wait for performance fixes. I am not your beta tester.
Mouse over where it says mix and see what the percentage is. 56.
56 are positive. Yeah, okay. That's
about
pretty
as
low.
bad as Kerbal Space Program 2 on launch.
That's pretty low. Yeah. Performance cannot be overlooked. And it's like, yeah, because it's Digital Foundry's breakdown, like, because of the hitching and stuff like that. It's also like quite poor at CPU management and stuff like that. So like it tends to, a lot of the game logic ends up ending up on a single thread at times. And so it's not, so even if you have like a more expensive processor, the problem is a lot of the time is those processors, they don't improve your single core performance. They just add a whole bunch more cores. Yeah. So you're not really going to gain from having a super powerful CPU. In this instance, it's a poor show. Poor show, EA. Poor show. It's also mildly disappointing because it's a Respawn product, right? And it's like, Titanfall was fine. They should know what they're doing.
Well, you can argue, was Titanfall fine? In the tech department.
Also, I guess
you remember what Titanfall was like when you ran it the first few times?
I mean, sure.
It took about an hour to compile it, whatever shaders it did at the time.
And decompress
the audio.
Yeah, that took forever. And also, I think Titanfall was running on their own engine. I think Jedi runs on Unreal. I think I'm remembering that right. Anywho.
Oh yeah, it's Unreal. Yeah, it's not the new Unreal.
It's 4 still, but
current Unreal. Yeah, 4.
Anyway, all of that kind of pales in comparison to the other bit of news in that Redfall is apparently an awful game.
Apparently even worse than Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, and not just because it has its fair share of technical problems. Like apparently there's texture pop-in everywhere. There are visual glitches. Apparently, I think I read somewhere that the actual like networking side of it isn't good either, which is somewhat poor for a 4-player co-op
Well, it's not even drop in, drop out. It's the main problem everyone has with it.
Oh, so it's a core design.
You actually have to lobby to join up with people.
Oh, right, okay. Fine. Yeah, so like that... tip of the iceberg is basically what I'm saying. Like the technical side is not the real problem with Redfall. The 30 FPS thing we mentioned, was it one or two podcasts ago, that even they said, I'm sorry guys, it's not going to be ideal at launch. That's not the problem. The game itself is actually just the snore fest. And that's surprising in a number of ways. And it's like, okay, annoying for me because obviously like Redfall's on my fantasy critic team.
Negative points.
No, it's actual negative point scorer. Yeah, because the reviews are so low. So incensed by this, I went and read a whole bunch of reviews and checked out a lot of the things. And it's like, the game doesn't sound great. Like, I'm not going to put that. I'm not going to dispute that. I think the scores might be being lowered by Arcane's pedigree,
right,
a little bit, and of course the people that are going to be reviewing a game by Arcane are going to be fans of Arcane, and so there's a bit of bias bringing some of the... in fairness, a great deal of the reviews have probably got a little bit of that going on, saying like, this is an Arcane game, it should be like badass and rad, and I'm a fan, and I'm so disappointed that they put out this crap show.
Quite a few people said somewhat that about Deathloop as well, not as strongly, but
Definitely was pretty well received, generally. I mean, it's not necessarily... I mean, it's got a lot of Arcane's, like, hallmarks in it.
Actually, maybe that was the opposite problem.
Maybe that was the problem too Arcane. Yeah, you might be right. Whereas this... I mean, it's... let me jump ahead a little bit and be like Phil Spencer has actually come out and said, yeah, we're not happy about it either. Which...
Wow. It's an indictment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he was putting it out in the sense it's like that they weren't expecting it to review as badly as it did. Apparently, their internal processes they were they did the thing that a lot of publishers do, which is mock review process, where there are people out there that are hired to not do reviews for public consumption, but to do reviews for internal feedback. A bit like a focus group, but you feed it through a guy and they write up what they think is good and bad and stuff like that. And those were apparently pretty good. So they felt like they were in a decent place to release. And then they released it and were proven horribly wrong. So yeah, he's come out and saying like, we need to look at our internal processes. We don't intend to do this. And it's like, of course, it's another blow for Microsoft's first party output. They really don't need, because they're not. They still haven't had that big hitter for many, many years. It still hasn't happened. I mean, I guess Horizon 5 was really good reviews wise, but it's another one of those, right? Like it's a safe bet. Halo Infinite's campaign did well, but then they dropped the ball on Infinite multiplayer. Minecraft Legends and Dungeons haven't lit the world up. I mean,
well, that was less likely to happen.
I mean, Legends did slightly better than Dungeons, but still, the only thing that has gone well for them is Hi-Fi Rush, which is obviously a standout classic, and like it's superb. But they need more than just one big hitter.
And has that actually done well enough? Like,
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, what is the commercial success of Hi-Fi Rush? I've got no idea. Like,
I mean, even if you could say it was a commercial success, it's going to be like comparative to its budget, basically. It's not like it's a AAA game, really. I mean, depending on your definition,
there's definitely a smaller team at Tango that were working on it than stuff like Ghostwire and stuff like that.
Yeah. So if it did well, that could still be like way smaller than a normal AAA game doing well.
As far as Microsoft is concerned, they might consider that a bigger win, even if the numbers are lower, right? Yeah, if the budget to make it was lower.
Yeah.
It's a shame. They've committed to fixing it technically anyway. But even I don't think there's any fixing that game is the problem. It's like the problems are too fundamental.
Yeah, the actual gameplay. And there are some aspects that look suspiciously like it was rushed. Like it might have been forced to release for the Game Pass windows or something. But that's just speculation on that front. But like the fact that the cutscenes are all motion comic style is like, that's suspicious. Like it seems like
that sounds like a budget cut somewhere.
Yeah, it seems like that was not even very much effort would have needed to turn these into real actual models, because they don't even do much.
It's more the fact that we haven't seen any sign that was going to be a thing in any of the marketing lead up to it, right? It was like it seemed like it would be a slightly more I don't know, less abstract, I suppose. It's like I don't know if that I would have any inkling that there would be motion comics at all. That it would all be done in engine
person,
or
like you wouldn't have thought it would be like a cutscene essentially, almost in that kind of game.
Yeah, maybe not that far, but
you just talk to a person in the world and then they tell you things.
Yeah, or maybe it would be a cutscene, but it would be, because it's a co-op thing, it would be presented with one of those all players vote to skip scenes
maybe
systems.
Because the weirdest thing because I was watching Jeff Gerstmann play some of this, but like, when you start a mission and it does one of these motion comic style cutscenes to, have the guy explain the mission or whatever, that's sort of okay, but like, looks kind of cheap or whatever, kind of low budget. But then is
that higher budget than actually just having the guy in the world talk to you?
Well, maybe, I guess, but not, maybe doesn't fit as well. But then the weird thing was, he was doing a mission where he had to get a movie, like a film camera reel that had like information about what happened or whatever, and you had to stop the mercenaries from burning it, and then take it to the movie theater so you could play it on the movie theater projector for some reason, because I guess it's compatible. But so when he got this film reel and put it in the movie projector, on the physical movie screen in the world, it plays a motion comic scene, and it's just like, that's weird.
Oh, that is strange. Yeah.
You couldn't even make an in-engine cutscene of that, specifically.
That is pretty weird. It's a bit immersion breaking.
Yeah.
Unless there was some, like, they were like, well, it's just how this magic works.
It makes everything low frame rate, so it looks like a motion comic.
It records everything as a comic book. Yeah. We don't know why. Just some quirk of the magic.
It was very strange. And then, at the end of
a little bit like that. Was it the Discworld show we watched? Was it the Watchmen?
Yeah, the Watchmen.
Was it the Watch? Sorry, the Watch. Yeah, where they have those little guys drawing the
the low tech,
drawing the videos essentially. Yeah.
But yeah, you watch this motion comic on a movie projector, and then at the end of that scene, when the end of the film reel comes up, it does the stupid film burning effect. Except it's like the film burning effect is running faster than the film, because the film doesn't have a frame rate. It's just playing this movie burning effect over the end of it.
Bit jank.
Yeah, it's just weird. So yeah, maybe that game was rushed in some ways, or maybe it was just always bad. Who knows?
Sounds like it was budget hamstrung.
Yeah.
Like the team had ideas and then couldn't execute.
But regardless of that, apparently it just doesn't play very well.
I mean,
that's maybe the important part.
Yeah, but the thing I remember here as well is this is a little bit outside of Arcane's wheelhouse.
Sure.
Like making a 4-player co-op looter shooter specifically. That's a little bit out of what they do. It's not the quote-unquote immersive sin that Arcane are known for. Phil Spencer did say in his comments that we are encouraging studios to take risks. We want them to take risks. We don't want them to just make the status quo games, because I guess Microsoft have enough of that. They have their Forzas, they have their Gears, they want the studios they've acquired to get creative and make make things.
They want the studios they've acquired to make the games they were going to make before they got acquired.
To some extent, yeah. It's like you're a talented team, do what you want to do, I think is what they're trying to say, rather than what it might financially make sense to do. Like take a risk. And that's great. Like, I'm all on board with that. But the problem with that is like that's not going to hit every time. And this might potentially be the first, or be close to the first beginning to end project that was Microsoft overseen. Hi-Fi Rush might be in that camp as well. Not quite sure.
But it's hard to tell.
Out of their Bethesda acquisition, I mean.
Yeah, it's hard to tell how that works in the Bethesda situation specifically, though, because it still feels like, I mean, even the way they've presented the whole Microsoft and Bethesda situation seems like they're kind of still independent.
Separate. Yeah.
So it might still have been more of a Bethesda overseeing project on some level.
And the other thing to remember is Arcane is multiple studios now.
Yeah.
They're not just Arcane. So this was Arcane Austin, who were behind Prey. Not the same Arcane that was behind Deathloop, like recently. There's no way those could have...
Wow, that close together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it just goes to show...
So yeah, please take risks. It's fine, but they're not all going to land. The problem is Microsoft needs them to land.
at least a couple.
Yeah.
This year, ideally. It just goes to show, once again, that you can't beat Left 4 Dead. People have tried, and they've always failed.
Yeah. Yeah. Except for Dig.
That barely counts.
Or Vermintide. Vermintide's pretty good.
Was okay.
All right. And other than that Gran Turismo movie trailer that I thought looked kind of okay, Dan think looks pure cringe. I think it looks okay.
Yep.
I think it might have been the right call if they were going to make a Gran Turismo film. I think going down the Gran Turismo Academy route and like how the game turned people into drivers and how real driving might be a bit. I mean, what else could you do? Would it have been some guy like buying an old camper van and then tuning it up to run like in professional racing?
Well, I mean, apparently now you could make it an Olympic story. Training for the Olympics in Gran Turismo.
I thought it would just be about racing or whatever, or a racing team, and be Gran Turismo theme, but I didn't know didn't think it would actually be about the game Gran Turismo.
Right.
But I get that there's a real thing that happened or whatever.
Yeah,
where there was
a real story and some real drama and some real consequences.
Sure, but like, I don't know. Yeah, I thought it would be like Days of Thunder or something. Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, that would have been fine. You know, now you said that. Yeah, that probably would have been fine too. Given how much
called Gran Turismo, you know?
Yeah. Given how much I love, what was it, the recent Le Mans '66 film?
Yeah, more along. I thought that was good. Yeah.
That's a fantastic film.
Enjoyed watching that. Yeah, it was good.
You can make proper driving films. Is what I mean. Driving and racing team films. You can do it. It's fine.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see.
Rush is pretty good as well. If you haven't seen that, that's about the whole classic James Hunt, Niki Lauda rivalry in Formula One. That's a pretty good film. Go watch that.
Also, if you like documentaries, the Senna one is amazing.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I need to see that. I need to see that.
Recommended. Yeah, you'd be into that.
Do need to watch that. Yeah, I agree.
Right, are we done with the news?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think it might be time for what you've been playing.
Unless you want to mention how many Zelda spoilers there are now.
No, I do not.
No.
Don't want to know about it.
I mean,
we'll talk about Zelda
the whole
next
game
time.
is leaked, apparently, at this point.
I'm sure.
I mean, that's not actually surprising, really, because the game's always leaked.
It's nearly out.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it will just have... The physical copies will be about, right?
Yeah.
And then someone will have...
Yeah. People are getting arrested, I'm sure. Nintendo are breaking down people's doors as we speak.
Yep.
I mean, semi-related note that fits into this section. Zach showed me the ending to Breath of the Wild last week.
I guess that's sort of what we played, except not really.
We actually did that. It's like, okay, point number one, I forgot kind of how good that game actually looks, because Hyrule Warriors doesn't look as good as it. So we've played so much of that since that it's just like, oh wow, this is a good looking game.
It's beautiful. Like, yeah.
Even on the Switch.
Yeah.
It runs so much smoother than I was expecting.
Yep, most of the time.
But also, I kind of didn't need to see that ending.
No, not really.
Yeah, it's not really necessary.
It's a bit. I don't know. I found it quite underwhelming, actually. Like you've gone through, like you will have gone through all of that experience and all of that magical journey, and then it's just like the end. Like,
well, I agree, and it's like that. That is, but I mean, it's a bit unfair, isn't it? Because it's like, oh, the game was so good all the way through. You're bound to be kind of disappointed by the ending, but then at the same time, it can. I mean, that Ocarina of Time ending. Like, it may be cheesy or whatever, but like, oh my God, iconic with all of the sections and like running down the castle. You know, we just did it recently.
Oh, sure. Apart from the actual last fight part, which I thought was kind of naff, but like,
yeah. What with the Ganon himself? Or whatever,
you know, you're fighting Pig Ganon or whatever and attacking his tail, and it's like, I don't know, that didn't quite work for me. Like, it didn't mechanically. I think it mechanically didn't hang together as well as
absolutely.
The rest of the game did.
Not quite as good as So Long, Bowser.
So Long, Bowser.
The end of Mario 64.
Well, not even the end, is it? It's like
every fight.
Yeah. Pretty much every Bowser fight.
True, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's an apt comparison. The ending of Breath of the Wild to me kind of had that vibe. Like, I wasn't even playing it; I was just watching it. But like that, especially the very, very last thing you do, I was just like, this feels a little underbaked. Like,
yeah, sure. I think I had the stupid. I looked dumb because I was in the like ancient armor when I did that or something, and it looked like it kind of obscures his face for all the cutscenes.
Oh right.
Yeah, because I think that probably is the best armor in the game, isn't it? Well, though, I don't know, one of the good ones. Well, but like,
does it have actual armor stats like the armor? Or
I think it does.
Because that would make it better. And also Guardian Resistance.
And Guardian Resistance, but it looks like a bit dumb. Anyway,
but yeah, I ran through. I loaded up my master mode save and just basically I had forgotten that I had basically done very nearly literally everything in that master mode save, apart from the sword trials. So I was just like, I can just go to Hyrule Castle and just do it, so Rob can see. And I just like
the castle is cool though, right?
Yes,
that's not disappointing.
It's pretty unique,
big and awesome. Yeah,
even within the game's context, right? It's pretty unique because as Zach mentioned at the time, it's like you get music playing,
actual music,
and also you get an outside theme and an indoor theme. Okay, those loops are maybe a little short, and you if you were doing it a bit more thoroughly than we were at the time, they could get a little bit annoying. Potentially, but it stood out from the rest of the game.
Yeah, I ran to all the law appropriate places, got all those diaries read.
Yeah.
And then
Dimensions of the Fortune Teller. There were two, not just one. There were two.
I guess there was technically kind of, you could consider that to be one. The books of Hyrule Castle. But yeah, I'm surprisingly, I didn't have nearly as much trouble with the combat as I thought I was going to.
I mean, that didn't look like that difficult a fight.
No, well, I mean, apart from the fight isn't difficult, really, I guess. The only problem with it was that last section in Master Mode where like, because he has the shield that you can't attack him through, and then in Master Mode his health regenerates.
Oh yeah,
that was the problem.
That kept you busy for a while.
You have to. I didn't even know, because I guess I hadn't done it the first time through, that you can flurry rush to get past that shield, because I only knew that you could do it by shield parrying the laser, and then that breaks the shield. It turns out if you flurry rush, you just get 3 hits anyway, so that also works. But his attacks are surprisingly awkward to flurry off, even though, as we pointed out several times,
the flurry window is so much larger than it is in Hyrule Warriors.
The flurry window is gigantic in that game.
Yeah. So much larger.
But yeah, I got through that fairly smoothly.
It's got me a bit. I mean, I'm glad you did show me that, because it has got me a little bit more hype.
Because you remembered what the game looked like.
Yeah, not just because of what it looked like. It just sort of. Yeah, I guess it triggered something. Like there's a little bit of like, oh yeah, this I really did enjoy this, didn't I?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And then there was the little extra full memories ending as well, where you can see that.
Which is a bit of a nothing.
Yeah, I guess you can see that. I guess Zelda and Link are going to Zora's domain to fix the Divine Beast, which is that's the thing that I was thinking about. That's actually what I'm curious about at the start of Tears of the Kingdom, is how they're going to explain what the hell happens to all the Sheik attack. Because like all the shrines are gone, all the towers are gone, Presumably the divine beasts aren't still hanging around.
What's going on? How much time has passed? Has Link gone into hyperspace, slow hyperspace?
See, time travel in Zelda is perfectly normal.
Yep,
There's loads of time travel in Zelda. Yeah, so that's no problem.
I mean, other than Hyrule Warriors, it hasn't happened in Breath of the Wild apart from people being asleep and doing the hyperspace thing, essentially. They lose years. No one goes back.
There are whole games based around time travel concepts in the Zelda series, right?
Don't do it.
They already have.
Don't do it.
Time travel confirmed already.
Don't do it again. Go forwards, not back. Forwards is fine. One way.
All of Wind Waker's that's a sequel, isn't it? Yeah. Is it a sequel? Yeah. Because it's underwater, right? Obviously. To
the Ocarina.
Ocarina? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that world just flooded.
Yeah.
Technically, yeah. See, the thing about this, going for more, just a little bit more of Tears of the Kingdom theories and speculation.
Sure. Speculation, yeah.
The thing about the shrine, so like the Sheikah Tech, the towers could just retract back into the ground. That would make sense.
Sure.
That would be fine. Mm-hmm. But so only some of the shrines come out of the ground. Like a lot of the shrines are just there.
Yeah. Just there, yeah.
So do they retract also?
Could they have always retracted?
But then the thing is, if you start thinking about that, what about, say, like the shrine in the middle of Zora's domain? Like literally in the middle of the city. It's built into the whole structure of the city. Where does that go?
Yeah. But like just with the landscape itself, like obviously it's built around the fact that the shrines are there. Like there's a lot of like weird caves and stuff that are
empty now.
Or something, right? Yeah, because they, yeah.
And also, you know, even though sometimes it feels like the shrines are just like not even real, they do like it is an elevator shaft that goes into an underground chamber.
Sure.
So although it may be like infinitely far underground from the way those chambers seem to be.
Yeah, maybe. But like
they seem to be in the kind of weird hyperdimensional space under the
and that's why I was thinking like when you have that shrine in Zora's domain, that shrine probably was actually at ground level. Like, because all the waterfalls there probably eroded it. Like, that's why it's in the middle of Zora's domain. Like, they built the town around it because otherwise it would have just been this shrine on top of the pillar that was the elevator shaft. It would just be sitting up there by itself because the terrain would have eroded from the waterfalls over the 10,000 years or whatever.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Although I don't know if Zelda considers erosion to be real. Because that's the problem with time travel that we're about to run into if we go back into the past and it's just like, well, the terrain looks exactly the same, so erosion doesn't exist.
Yeah, that would be quite a lot of detail to go into. Although, you know, but that would be more of a Red Dead Redemption kind of detail, wouldn't it? Where the world changes over time.
Well, I mean, you can
listing.
I mean, maybe you don't have to be super detailed about it, but something like the waterfalls of Zora's domain eroding backwards would kind of be a thing you could relatively easily do. You just like move the hill, fill that big hole where Zora's domain is currently, just put a hill over it, and have the waterfalls further forward.
Yeah, if anything, going backwards would make it less complex, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess because you just fill in holes rather than create new ideas.
Arguably.
Oh, man. Can't wait to see what they've done.
Yep, get hype. Get even more hype.
Get very hype, yeah.
So I continue to play more Breath of the Wild.
Me too. I'm also playing Breath of the Wild. So.
Technically, the reason I started doing it was because having done the actual final boss, I realised that I've never shown Rob the real final boss of Breath of the Wild.
Wait, there's another one?
Well, from the expansion.
Oh.
The actual the boss fight that's more like an actual boss fight rather than a cutscene like Dark Beast is. But my alternate save only had like 2 of the Divine Beasts done, and I was like, I'm not sure I can really quickly rush through the entire 2 more Divine Beasts, then the one-hit obliterator section, then the goddamn 12 extra shrines, and then the secret 5th Divine Beast just to get to that boss fight.
Right, yeah.
But I tried. I got through the 2 Divine Beasts and the one-hit obliterator. That was as far as I got in trying to rush that. But yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to get to show that to Rob before I get distracted to play the new game.
It's fine. It's DLC. It's DLC.
Cool.
It probably is cool.
And we'll also give you much more context about who this goddamn monk in Age of Calamity is.
Who Mad Monk Maz is.
Yep. He just shows up in that game.
Oh,
not even the cutscene. It's just like, I mean, he's just like, you do those map icons and then... No, I meant in Age of Calamity, not Breath of the Wild.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you just... There's a map icon that has a monk head on it and you do some pointless map missions and then he's just a character now.
It's just like, there you go. Have an unlock.
Nothing, no lore or anything.
Oh, no, there's no backstory. He's just there. He's kind of a fun character, though.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, actually, like just how much they improved upon... I think I've probably talked about it before, how much they improved between those two Hyrule Warriors games.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the raw movesets and the variety of what those characters do. That's almost been the biggest letdown, actually, of going back and playing the old one, is that the movesets just aren't that interesting compared to what you got with Age of Calamity.
Mm.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know, throwing a tantrum and doing a big eye laser. Yes, there are characters that sort of have eye lasers, but they're not as well implemented as Koga.
Well, you do still have the tantrum, kind of.
Kind of. I mean, you got the tingle. You've got the tingle. He doesn't tantrum, but like that's a bit different.
It's Zant. With his, where you can continue to combo the X while his bar fills up, but if you overfill it, he falls over just like Koga. Because he's just Koga. Because they reused that idea.
Kinda. But then nothing plays quite like Zelda, or the weirdness of the Master Cycle, or Sidon's Ting.
We don't necessarily know that yet, because we haven't unlocked all the weapons.
We haven't unlocked all of them, but we've got an awful lot of characters, and it's... Yeah, I don't know. It's... They clearly refined their art between those two games, which is weird given how massive the Dynasty Warriors series is, and they suddenly decided to up their game for this one.
Well, as we've said before, it's because Nintendo helped.
Yeah,
Nintendo came along and told them how to make an actual game rather than Dynasty Warriors.
Harsh. Apparently Omega Force made Wild Hearts.
Right.
The EA Monster Hunter. Apparently that was them. So maybe there's some Dynasty Warriors in that Wild Hearts game. If it has split screen co-op, maybe we should try it at some point later.
Possibly. Dan, what else do you have to say about Breath of the Wild? You can go first this time, now that you actually have something to talk about for a minute, even though it's something we've talked about so many times before.
Yeah, there is no thing. It's Breath of the Wild. I can't wait for the next one. But I'm going to probably finish Breath of the Wild first, just like you did.
Oh, you know.
Maybe. Well, I haven't got... I haven't got it pre-ordered to get on the day because I'm busy next weekend, so I won't be playing it straight off. So
no, I mean,
but then you won't be playing Breath of the Wild either.
Well, no, that's true. But I've got that this week, you see.
Yeah.
So I can play a bit of that this week.
I probably won't be a day one-er either, but like...
Exactly. I will be, assuming the post works. Assuming it comes through the post at the appropriate time. Because it's a Friday release. Risky.
Right.
Yeah.
Not risky for patching purposes like some PC releases have been recently. But...
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah. So, should we switch away from Zelda?
Yeah, I guess.
We'll be back with abundance.
We'll be back with a shit ton of Zelda
next time. So, what have you been playing, Zach, in the meantime?
I guess. I haven't really been playing much else apart from Monster Not Included still. Still continuing that save. I abandoned the second base, the one through the teleporter, because I was just like, these guys aren't even doing anything. like they're just basically standing around, and I can't really invent any new projects for them to do right now. So they might as well just come back through the teleporter, and we'll just leave that base empty. I did set up some extra automation to basically. The way I would describe it is I've set up automation to basically sweep up animal poop. Except the animal poop in this case is useful materials. But while no one's there, the animals continue to survive, even if they don't basically if they're not tended to, they output a quarter as much, essentially. So they are outputting something. And I guess meat when they die before their eggs hatch. Even if they're not tended to, they still lay exactly 1 egg per life cycle. So the population maintains, but if you were tending to them, you'd get way more eggs. So you could breed them specifically for meat. But yeah, I just set up some automation to basically just sweep up all the crap and meat in the enclosures and just pipe it out of the way.
Hopefully wash that
into storage.
And then...
Well, you just put it in an ice box, essentially, and preserve it for when people come back to this planet. If they ever do.
Well,
the other thing that is sort of the occasional reason that I come back to that planet is, like, I have this one specific type of plant that's growing there that takes, like, 120 cycles to grow. So it's just like, well, I guess they can just leave for, like, 100 cycles and then come back and then deal with that. Don't need to worry about that. It just sits there for 120 cycles, pooping out hydrogen for some reason, because that's what this plant does. It actually puts out fucking so much hydrogen. I'd never grown this plant before because it's, like, really inconvenient. It has to grow at, like, sub-zero temperatures, and you have to feed it an animal because it's like a Venus flytrap, basically. So you have to plant the plant, you have to make it in a sub-zero room, then you have to put an animal in the room and get the animal to walk over the plant so it gets eaten. And then it takes 120 cycles to digest that animal, and then it puts out hydrogen during that 120 cycle period. But it puts out so much fucking hydrogen that if I'd known that it was this ridiculously productive, I probably would have done this before, because it's so much fucking hydrogen. I immediately had to build an infinite storage, because I was just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to deal with this. The room immediately filled up with hydrogen, and I was like, well, I can't put this in tanks. I'm either going to vent this to space because it's just far too much, or just build an infinite storage. So I gave up and built an infinite storage, even though I don't usually like to do that. But I did at least build the real infinite storage. I built a proper door compressor, not a glitched vent storage thing that people make. And then I finally got round to actually also doing that on my home base as well. Not nearly as much hydrogen there, but like the electrolyzers that make all the oxygen, obviously that puts out hydrogen. And as usual, up until this point, I've just been bottling it and putting it in a pile on the floor. But then I was like, this is just every 15 minutes I have to come back to this planet and click 2 buttons to make them bottle it again. So I might as well fucking just build an infinite storage for that as well. If I've done it once, there's no shame in doing it twice.
Yeah, just embrace it now.
I haven't done it for any of the other things that I could theoretically do that for, like natural gas or whatever that comes out of the geysers infinitely. Because I feel like infinitely storing geyser output like that is like, that's not a good idea, because then it makes you think that you have more than you do, because you're only meant to be using it at the rate the geyser puts out. Because if you back it up and then think that you're like, I can get away with adding another pump in here, and then it just drains that, it's never going to fill up again because you're using more than you have.
Okay.
It's like there's no point in buffering it, because eventually that buffer will run out. And it's a constant rate apart from that. So the reason that you do buffer the geyser output is because they're on a active dormant cycle. So you need to buffer the output during the active cycle to last through the dormant cycle, essentially. You need a sufficiently large room to store the whole output of the active cycle. And then I also finally moved on to like a fourth asteroid. Basically took the 2 people that had been living on the second asteroid, shoved them in a rocket, and been like, go and colonize a new place instead. Do something more useful with your time. And then I did another one of the weird semi-story mission things. The Mysterious Hermit. Where you just find a shipping container on this new planet where just some guy's been living in it for like thousands of years during this whole time travel disaster that is the background story of this game. He was stranded here. And then you have to convince him to come out by giving him some nice food and and decorating the area around the shipping container.
Then does he turn into the mysterious stranger? And just...
No, unfortunately he doesn't shoot people with a magnum.
Just a random.
But he does have he has 7 in all of the stats, basically. So he's already half leveled in everything, essentially. Which is nice. But not super useful. It's just he's just another dude at the end of the day. A slightly inconvenient dude with some good base stats.
You're an inconvenient dude.
He does have a different voice. like because you like Oxygen Not Included, just like Don't Starve uses that weird Morley voice thing that Clay does with their games.
Okay,
where different characters have different voices,
sort of Gabba sort of thing.
Yeah,
Gabba.
But like his one is way different than all the other ones because he's super old and grizzled, I guess. Roller. Yeah, and then so I was setting up this new fourth asteroid for pretty much just that guy. Like I have finally discovered one of the late game asteroids, the one with the resin tree on it, but that's too far away for me to be sending people to just right now. I still haven't fully solved the rocket problem of getting the oxidizers and whatnot. I do have like 40 tons of oxalite stored up from all the oxalite meteors. But now I'm just like, well, now I have to ship this home, I guess. But do I even want home base to be the rocket base? Because my problem is that the home base asteroid on this randomly generated set of asteroids is like really tiny. It's really only as big as all the other ones. And because it was my home base for so long, it's got a lot of stuff in it, but like more generalized stuff. Like the second asteroid still has quite a bit of space, but it's mostly filled up with salt water because that's the saltwater planet. And I've slowly been draining that out and sending it through the teleporter to home base, but like now home base is almost fully mined out. I was thinking about building the nuclear reactor, and I was like, where the hell am I even going to put it? There's like this bottom corner of the map that's still an oil biome that I could theoretically dig out. Or I could just put it in space, I guess, but then that'll probably get in and then I barely have enough space to put rockets up there, and would also obscure the solar panels, at least while I'm building it. I mean, that's only a temporary problem. As soon as you turn on the nuclear reactor, power shouldn't be a problem any longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is still continuing to be Oxygen. And then apart from that, the only other thing I played Rocket League, I guess. I'm finished with the Rocket Files again.
Oh, really?
I'm still managing to keep up with that.
Huh.
And then I guess I played a small amount of Derg, but they have continued to talk about the teasers for season 4.
Right.
They've now made one of the most actually relevant teasers where they've shown a new enemy, I guess.
Ooh.
Which looks to be some kind of cross between a shellback and a cave leech.
Okay. That doesn't fill me with hope.
They haven't shown if it rolls, but it has that scuttling sound effect that the shellbacks have when they're actually walking. But then it also has basically a grappling hook that it shoots at it.
Oh, no.
So who knows how that's going to work exactly.
Is it just a long range grabber?
Yeah.
And it just runs off with you?
Well, that's what I'm wondering is what sort of grab is it going to be?
Yeah. Is it going to be an actual is it smoker style lock you down kind of thing?
Yeah, or is it just going to be an inconvenience, pull you out of the way? Pull you towards enemies, I guess. I would imagine probably. Because they already have the grabber for immobilizing you fully, the flying grabber.
They do explicitly say no more robots on their roadmap.
Well, sure.
Yeah. But does that mean they're getting rid of the robots? Or
they shouldn't get rid of anything, as we said previously.
Never remove. Just add.
But what if no more robots means no more different robots, but the same robots but infected?
No.
The Rock Fox.
They're not more robots.
Yeah.
Can Rock Fox affect robots?
That is the question. Or maybe that's not the question. Maybe that won't be relevant in any way. But yeah, and the weird thing about this new enemy is it doesn't appear to be Rock Fox. It just seems to be a new enemy.
Okay, well that's fine.
Unless it is in some way Rock Fox, where it's the Rock Fox.
It's no longer contagious or something.
Well, or the Rock Fox somehow made a mutation that combined a cave leech and a shellback.
Right. Now maybe the rest of the enemies will be weird combos.
Yeah.
Like a goo bomber and anything really, that'd be nice.
A goo bomber and anything.
And just everything goos.
Oh man, that would be the worst mission.
Like a goo Praetorian instead.
When you have that trait where enemies explode on death, except they explode into goo. That would be so annoying.
Right, yeah.
The really slow mission where everything is goo constantly.
Could you have one of those goo exploders, the big ones?
Oh, what, like a detonator?
Detonator, sorry, yeah.
That just goos the entire cave.
Yeah, everywhere. But you actually need those run faster perks.
Well, I think virtually all of my builds have the like reduced environmental slowdown perk.
Huh.
Not the actual run faster perk usually, but I'm not sure how effective that is on goo. It makes a big difference on snow.
Oh, right.
Like you basically can sprint straight through the snow patches if you have that perk. So yeah, still waiting on season 4, but I guess it's coming.
It's got to be soon. Because they originally said it was April, and it's like, well, we're not in April anymore.
Or maybe they meant the teasers were going to be in April. And then I guess I can mention, because I forgot to mention it last time, the thing that I played ages ago at this point, I randomly went back into Subnautica for a minute. Because I guess I hadn't played it since they did that weird like backport update where they put some of the content or some of the base parts from Sub-Zero back into original Subnautica.
Oh, interesting.
So I went in there to look at those for a minute. There's not really much to say about Subnautica. Like playing Subnautica again, it's not random.
No.
So there's not really much where everything is, and you know the most efficient way to get through it.
Yeah.
So I played long enough to see the new base parts, and then was like, man, I wish these had been in the game originally because this is just way better.
I mean, better in that it makes your life too easy, though, or
it's not really too easy. It's just like less inconvenient because, so when you're building the bases in original Subnautica, you have a circular room that is like the primary main base building part because it's a room that you can put like the larger equipment in, the bigger power reactors and like the water distiller thing and the alien containment room. They have to be in one of these circular rooms. And then the way it works is basically the center of the room is the mounting point for the big equipment, like the reactors. And then it has, I guess the water distiller doesn't technically need to go in that room, but it mounts on one of the wall ports. Because the way the base building works is like the big rooms have essentially hidden ports around the edge, which is how you where you build the tunnels to join the separate rooms together. And those ports can have, like, the water distiller has to go on one because obviously it sucks water in from the outside. And then, like, that's where you also mount structural reinforcement to increase your hull strength or whatever. So instead of a tunnel, you build a structural part to block where the tunnel would go, but it gives you the enhanced hull strength or whatever. And that's how it is in the base game, and that's kind of annoying. And also, if you build them on top of each other, like they're designed to stack, it like makes a nice cylindrical stack of rooms. But
what did you say? Cylindrical?
Cylindrical. but when you build the ladder to go up and down between them, the ladder mounts into the floor, like offset in front of one of the tunnel entrances.
Right.
Except it's like right in front of one of the tunnel entrances, as in like you have to sort of squeeze past the ladder to get into the room if you build it in front of a tunnel entrance. And like the ladders I can't remember if they can stack directly on top of each other or not. But also the ladders in the bases are weirdly like not real. Like you click on them and you just teleport. It doesn't have an animation or anything.
Right, weird.
Even though a lot of the other ladders in that game do have an animation. In fact, I think all other ladders in that game have an animation, just not the ones you specifically build as part of the base.
Strange.
I guess it's because of the free-form building nature of it. They couldn't have guaranteed how the animation would clip through stuff on each end, maybe.
Don't know.
They didn't want you to accidentally get stuck in something.
No, I mean, maybe that was a problem that they had, and we're just like, well, maybe we just don't do that for now.
Yeah.
And then never fixed it.
It is weird how that you just teleport. But yeah, that's how you build normally with the circular rooms. But then the thing that they brought back from Sub-Zero is just like a huge rectangle room, which is much like at least twice the size of the circular room in terms of like floor space, so you can just fit more stuff in it. And it's rectangular, which makes it more easy to fit like, you know, cabinets and whatnot along the walls because those are flat, not curved. And also you can mount like 2 or 3 of the large objects along the middle of the room. So you can have like multiple reactors in this one big room, and it's just an open floor plan that you can just walk in. It's just like, this is so much better, but like maybe too much better. I think realistically, if there should have been a different version where you got like a small square room, but then you could like join multiple of them together directly to make one big rectangle room, maybe, instead of the circular rooms where you have to have a tunnel in between them if they're next to each other. You can't just make an oval room or anything by having them adjacent.
You mean a little bit like when you're carving out bits of ships in No Man's Sky or something, when you connect the square rooms, they just turn into big rooms.
Yeah. Like digging out a space.
Kinda, yeah.
That would have been better. But yes, this one big rectangle room is just like, oh, this is so much more convenient. So much more convenient than these annoying circles. There's so many things that are square. Like when you want to build the grow beds inside your base to grow plants, and those are square, and you're trying to fit that into a circular room. It's just like, this is just really annoying.
This offends me.
Yeah. Although that game also doesn't have any way to like align things or any like locking to grid or anything. So you're always just going to be like holding the blueprint out to be like, oh, if I move it just slightly this way, does it line up better with that bit of wall or not? Do I have to turn? Do I have to like strafe backwards and forwards just to get it to slightly better line up? That sucks if you're worried about the aesthetics of it.
Proper building. Can't do it yourself.
Well, I mean, if only it was more realistic where you could just like nudge it around afterwards.
Yeah.
Rather than having to completely disassemble it and then rebuild it again. Speaking of nudging, that reminds me of the games I haven't been playing. They just released...
It's back.
Yeah.
Everyone's favourite section.
They've just released another... actually, I don't know if this patch is actually out yet or it's in the upcoming patch, but they've made a modification to Satisfactory's blueprint system, which is nudging, where like now when you're placing a blueprint, you place it and then lock it so you can walk around it and look at it. And then in that mode, you can actually just nudge it around, which makes lining things up much easier.
I see.
And that also actually applies to like... just like
you nudge the whole blueprint around.
Yes, you move the whole thing proportionally around the world on the grid of the foundations. But that also applies to like all normal building blueprints as well, which aren't... I say blueprints, but they aren't blueprints in the blueprint sense of blueprints. It's like a hologram or whatever.
Yeah. Gotcha. So when you're building anything, essentially.
And that's, that was always the classic problem of building the space elevator, because that thing is fucking gigantic. So it's impossible to tell where it is when you're trying to build it and you're just standing next to it. It's just like, I can't see where this ghost is compared to anything.
Right, I see, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense in the world of it as well to be able to put it down and just go, right, okay, I've got this I'm wearing a HoloLens. Let's go have a look. And
apparently there's also some other quality of life aspects to that as well. Like if you build a blueprint, it remembers that all the individual parts of it were that blueprint, so you can disassemble the whole thing in one go, rather than having to individually pick up all the individual parts afterwards if you make a mistake. Which is actually kind of cool. And apparently that works even if you do individually modify some parts of that blueprint, the parts that were still original in that blueprint do still remember that they were in that blueprint.
Okay.
So even if you took some parts of it down, the rest of it would still remember.
And it would still group together.
And it would still group into that dismantled mode. So that is probably kind of cool. But again, things I haven't been playing, I haven't seen any of this. And that part may not actually have been in the updates yet. They're ramping up to, I forget which number it is now, update 8 maybe, which is going to be the Unreal 5 thing.
Oh.
When they try and put in some of the Unreal 5 features. However well that's going to work. I think they've just like this week uploaded a video talking about their nanite, how much of nanite they're trying to use, which isn't much. They're basically only using it for vertical rock faces like cliffs, because those are basically models in the world anyway. Like if you ever clip through the level in Satisfactory, you can see how like underneath it's one of those like smooth curve planes, like, you know what I mean, how games do that, where like underneath the terrain is a like smooth curve, but in front of that they've mounted a cliff geometry to make it look more cliffy.
Oh, I see what you mean. The actual plane that you're interacting with is smooth, but
Like the base plane of the terrain is like, it's that weird way that they manage like sheer cliffs or whatever, because they don't want to distort the ground geometry into a vertical face or whatever, because of that acts weird with how those systems work. A lot of games will do that. I mean, even Breath of the Wild does that. If you've ever clipped through any of the edges on that world, you can see underneath it's just like, here's all the smooth curves that are hidden by the more jagged geometry that's stacked on top. But yes, that's basically what they're replacing with the nanite, is the cliff geometry that's on top of the fake geometry underneath.
Well, most of the time you don't even see that stuff, right? Like almost every game in the effectively has two polygonal layers going on at once. There's the visual layer and there's the actual sort of like the boxed layer that actually is driving the physics.
Well, yeah, but I'm not talking about that in that way. It's like, I don't know I don't know how exactly this is made, but it's like the underlying terrain can't be turned into as direct a height map as you want. Like, so hard to describe. I mean,
I think I see what you mean. So, right, they've taken it's a bump mapped plane underneath everything that they then go, oh, right, well, that's the basis upon which we work, or something, or
it's like maybe the terrain, that bump map terrain, is like not as high resolution or something. Like,
sure,
it can't do as steep a cliff as to make an actual cliff, or
they
also
can't do an overhang.
Right, or an overhang, yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that. So and also, they're basically trying to make it look better than the planets from Mass Effect.
Yes.
Mass Effect 1, yeah.
And also probably it's to do with, like, you need a different texture for the cliffs, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because if you're just stretching the bump map terrain, it won't actually look like a cliff. It will just look like a weird vertical face of grass or something.
Well, normally texture systems in games are built to deal with that automatically.
Depends on the exact system, yes. But yeah. That is apparently the only part that's going to be nanite, is just that geometry for cliff faces.
Okay, well, that's probably a fair thing to try, because it's not really super game impactful.
And also, don't do the whole thing at once, maybe.
And so they're not tempted on doing a Luma pass just yet, then, to light in the interior spaces. They're trying to do
some of that as well, but I think that has very specific limits as well. I don't remember what the limits on that are. Like, it might only, because it's weird to define what an interior space is in that game, of course, because you're building everything.
Sure.
So how does it detect what is technically interior?
Because it probably doesn't, right? It will have to just they'll have to just light it properly.
I think it has some kind of limit of like. Well, I think at least it's not going to try and do. It's only going to be in your local vicinity, for sure. It's not going to try and do things far away. It's not going to try and light the whole world.
Sure.
But they already had enough problems.
Oh, okay. So they're not using it as a global system.
No, I don't think so.
Interesting.
But they already had enough problems when they tried to implement regular lights in a few patches ago. Mainly for, I think that in that case it was to do with like the rendering load of having to deal with light sources and shadows in a game where you can make all these millions of objects.
Make anything. Yeah. Not easy. You'd have to like Cyberpunk Overdrive that stuff and like path trace everything. Make it look right.
Yeah, because I mean, that's always been one of my problems with the classic situation of turning shadows down to low. Because if you turn shadows down to low in Satisfactory, they don't fully turn off, but they might as well, and they just look real bad.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, that's things I haven't been playing. Satisfactory. That's it. That's all I played.
Alrighty. What about you, Rob?
Well, I haven't got a great deal of time left.
So you don't have a great deal to talk about, though, do you?
Well,
but you said you only had one new thing.
I only have one new thing to talk about.
How many old things do you have?
A fair amount of old things.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that you didn't have a lot to talk about.
Well, I'll to an extent. I'll be quick. I can't be quick. So I'm still. I think I've doubled the amount of time in Ni No Kuni since last time we talked, which makes sense.
Has it been doubly annoying?
Yeah. Actually, I reached a real hurdle in it.
More so than the grind.
More so than the grind. I reached a massive difficulty spike.
Okay.
That was just. Well, I mean, I guess the grinding. It led to much more grinding. I hit a huge difficulty spike. That just took me ages to get to the point where I could get over it. And it's is weird because after that point, the game has been a breeze.
Right, it was just like you thought you were grinding to make it over the difficulty spike, but the spike literally was a spike.
It was, it really was a spike.
It wasn't a up and then continue at that level. It was literally a spike.
It was once I got past that particular boss fight, like everything since then, I felt overpowered for quite some time now. And I'm getting to a few fights where it's like, okay, that was a close call. There's been a few of those, but for the most part, I am sailing through now. But I say sailing through. There's still an awful lot to do. It's a JS RPG.
Right.
There's an awful lot of stuff to do, and there's an awful lot of. I mean, there were sections where it made sense for me to grind a bit in order to level up a new Pokemon that I needed, like that had like a specific set of moves that would be useful in this area, stuff like that. I mean, I can now fly around the map, which helps as well. I can pretty much go anywhere at this point. Unless there's a story reason for keeping me out of certain spots, which I've butt up against a few times. It's like, oh, what's this place? Let's go there. And then you go there and it's like, you can't be here. Oh, okay, fine.
Oh, does it not have some magical explanation?
Often not.
Oh.
Or there'll be mysteriously there'll be places you go to and the door will be closed, and yet you come back to it later in the story. It's like, well, that door's open now.
Well, at least it's a door then.
Or there'll be plaques of text that you find, and you'll look at it and go, well, what does this say? Oh, I wish I knew how to read it. And then you'll go back to it later on as part of the story, and you'll just read it.
So it doesn't explain that.
Doesn't explain it.
Great.
It's a bit. It's almost like they gave you the tool set to travel the world too early,
right?
But then rely on that in order for you to get to the places you need to get to. It's pretty strange. In fact, a lot of things about Ni No Kuni are just pretty strange. Like, the chaotic combat has become less of a problem because I'm a bit overpowered and I'm sailing through it, and I've cottoned on to the fact that there is a sort of like rock paper scissors system with the Pokemon, the familiars. I keep calling them the Pokemon, but the familiars like star signs. They can either be like they can either be sun, star, or planet. No, well, planets are weird. Actually, that's not true. Planet is I haven't really come across any planet stuff yet. There's sun, star, and moon generally, and there's like a rock paper scissors relationship between them on top of the elemental systems that can come into play. But for the most part, if you just pay attention to that star system, because you can see what enemies' star signs are and things like that, you can. At the moment, that's making some of the combat like just even easier, because it's like, oh, I send out the right dude against the right enemy, then I'll be okay. I mean, the annoyances are starting to creep in. Like, I was starting to get a little bit fed up with it last time, I think, but like when I spoke about it, but the annoyances are creeping in. Like, it's a bit frustrating that there's quite a lot of music reuse, which like might seem like a minor thing, but like. You go to, there was one section where I'd spent a while in a town area that had one particular theme, and then it was like, right, great, now you get to go to this new area, and you get into this new area, and the place you get to is playing the music from the town you were just in, and it's like, oh, okay, well that's kind of annoying. Like, so now I'm still stuck with this music, and like almost every cave structure you go into plays the same music. And one of the towns also has that music. It's like they just didn't record enough. Like, you know, you go back, I think back to games like FF7 and FF8 and like the classics, and yes, they didn't record all the music with an orchestra like they have done here, as far as I can tell. But
there's variety to it.
There's way more variety, and it's way more interesting as well. And good God, does the battle theme get annoying after a while? Like, it's not a great battle theme. Like, I don't know, I feel like I could listen to the FF7, FF8, and FF9 battle themes forever, and they wouldn't be that irritating.
Even the Pokemon one.
Yeah, even the Pokemon one, they're just bangers. Whereas this one has kind of a motif and then doesn't do anything but that motif. And none of the music really loops properly in this game either. Like, it's not like it is just like it's playing the recording and then start, do it again. Like a CD on repeat rather than having set up proper loop points or whatever to do it. So like sometimes when the music in a particularly long fight just loops, it's pretty jarring and doesn't feel right. And I'm not saying all the music itself all of the music is bad. I may not be into that battle theme, but which is the one you hear the most. But it's a bit of a, you know, when you're spending this many hours on a game, I could do with a little more. yeah, it's filling a nice niche for me at the moment. In that, it's kind of brainless, like having sailing. Once you've got overleveled and you're just sailing for it, and that's kind of fine. I actually don't mind playing a game like that sometimes. And it is drawing me back in because of it. Because it's like, well, what do I do right now? Do I want to like? It's like it's getting a bit late in the evening. I could go and play something else for like an hour. No, but actually the save system's quite generous in this. I could just grind out a few more errands for a while. It's I wish I've upgraded my wand and it doesn't feel any more powerful. There's a whole big story plot line about making this mythical wand, like completing it. So it's like, the legendary wand is back. So you go and do that, and then it's like, what can you do with it? You must be like an uber wizard now. And it's like, I can open some purple chests. Like, I cast fire on this thing and it did about the same amount of damage. It's like, well, great. Like, so that's benefited me hugely. Like, the game and the narrative don't always match. And it's becoming, there's I don't know. I don't know if this is just a pattern, but it feels like as the game is progressing, like maybe budget cuts crept in or something, because there's fewer scenes where there's actual voice acting. Like, and it's turned into more, you go to a place, talk to a person, read the text, and then you'll maybe get like a small snippet of voice acted stuff in the middle of it. Yeah. It's a fine JRPG, but it's not a fine JRPG.
Fine. It's not quite fine.
It's not a classic. I think that's fair. I'm going to keep going. I think I'm most of the way through now. I think. Thoughts. I think thoughts.
You think them? They might not be true.
But I'm not. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I hope it doesn't creep. I'm at like nearly 40 hours, so it's like I hope it doesn't creep too much longer. But it very well could. I don't know what else it would do at this point, though. That's the thing. Like, I don't know what else it would. I mean, narratively, it could do some things, but I don't know what mechanically it could do anymore. So that's that. I continued a bit of my retro rampage. Like, I haven't added to the pile of PlayStation 1 games I'm playing at the moment, so I carried on with Rage Racer. I've pretty much got to the point with that game that I did back in the day, which is the point where you get to stage 4, cars and speed and difficulty, and that's when the game forces you to use manual transmission. And holy shit, I can't play that game with manual gears. That is, talk about difficulty spikes. That is a spike. Like, because Ridge Race is fast and it's got it like generally, and it's like when you make a mistake, it's one of those games that just suddenly takes speed off you. So like when you hit a wall, if you make a mistake in Rage Racer, you've got to try and figure out how much of a mistake that has been, like in an instant. You've got to be like, okay, how much speed did that actually shave off me? Like, what gear do I need to shift into to make that good? And if you get it wrong, you won't. If you don't shift down enough, you won't accelerate. If you shift down too far, you won't accelerate because you'll actually probably slow down some more because you'll be maxing out your gearbox or whatever. And it's like, that's really hard. Like, there's something about it that, like, I guess if you made a run and you drove it perfectly, it would be fine, right?
If you didn't ever slow down.
If you could drive it without doing that. But like you, as I mentioned before, like you don't. I still haven't figured out its drift mechanic. I cannot. There's something about it that I just can't. I can't get right. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe it's because I'm always using cars with too high a grip stat, and then maybe they don't drift. Maybe I need to just use the slightly slower cars that are super drifty and have no grip, and then maybe they all drift like a Ridge Racer game. I don't know. But then I won't be able to turn the normal corners. But it's an interesting balancing act. Like, I don't know. I might stop here again, like, because it is just so hard. Like, I've tried quite a bit to get over this hump this time, and it's I am failing. It's maybe beyond my capabilities.
Your hump getting over abilities.
Yes.
Surmounting abilities.
Yes. The other thing I played a bit more of was Rapid Racer. I still continue to play that game, despite how weird that game is.
Which one's that one?
That's the boat racing one. I talked about a few times. The sort of the motorboat stuff developed by a Sony internal studio. So I finished all the mirror tracks on it now, and unlocked almost all of the. Okay, this game has some weird things that I don't fully understand. Like, I don't know how you can unlock all of the boats in that game, because it doesn't feel like there's enough bonus opportunities. So the way that I think I mentioned before, the way the unlock system works is you run a race, but there's also these yellow tokens to pick up over the course of the race. And if you get 5 of them and win the race, you get taken to a little bonus challenge, which are super easy. But that will upgrade a stat on your boat. And if you max out a boat, you will then unlock a new, like, tier 2 boat, say, and then you do that with a tier 2 boat, you'll unlock a tier 3 boat. There doesn't seem to be enough of those bonus opportunities available to actually get to the tier 3 boats unless you follow, like, a single path. So I've found that doing the speed boats, the ones that have speed as their primary stat, is the way to go, and that makes the levels a bit better. So I did that with a tier 1 boat, but the tier 2 boat it unlocks is an acceleration boat, and it's like, oh, that's annoying. So then I went back and did it with the handling boat and bonused that one up with some of the bonus stuff I hadn't done on the tracks before, and that unlocked the tier 2 speedboat, and it's like, okay, great, cool, I've got the one I want. I'll work on this one.
Presumably the first tier speedboat is in the other one.
Well, I haven't got there because I've run out of races that I haven't got the bonuses on. Like, there's like a limited pool, and it's like, so is it possible to unlock all of the boats? I don't know that it is. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's a weird one. It's weird. Slightly odd structure. But what I did find that was pretty cool once I had finished all the mirror tracks is it unlocks what it calls fractal tracks. And this thing has a straight up random track generator, like a random course builder. Yeah. And it's like, like procedural generation back in the PS1 days. It's like, okay, what else did that? Okay, maybe Tommy Mackinnon Rally, but that was one of those things that build courses out of pieces. And you could build impossible tracks in that game. It was kind of weird. F-Zero X, I guess, that had the X Cup and would generate tracks. Not many things were doing that, and it's just interesting to see here. It's like, I don't think any of the fractal tracks I've driven on, well, I say driven, boated on, sailed on. Not really sailing. Like, what? Is there a word for, like, motorboating? Like,
I don't know. Yeah.
Powered. I don't think any of those fractal tracks I've powered through have been super interesting, but the fact that that feature exists at all is interesting, and is it's a nice like end game unlock. I say end game. This has all been in easy mode, and as I said before, all of the difficulty levels are segregated from each other. So when I up to medium mode, it's like, nope, anything you've unlocked, it doesn't matter. You're doing it again. Also a weird game, but kind of funny, kind of interesting, and kind of fun in its oddity. Like, the handling is so bizarre. It's so bizarre, but interesting on that front. Which leads me conveniently into Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Okay.
The one new thing I've played this week. It was released last year and is an...
so it's new.
It's new, yeah. It was released last year and is a Hot Wheels themed racing game, not to be confused with the stuff they did for Forza Horizon.
It's basically the same as Lego 2K Drive, right? It's the Hot Wheels version of the expansion they made for Forza.
It's not nearly as interesting, and this is the problem. So one of the key points behind Rage Racer, Rapid Racer, any of the Wipeout games, and anything that to me makes a good arcade racer is that they don't have to have realistic. They don't even some of the time even have to be good. They just have to have interesting mechanics. Hot Wheels drops the ball on this. I think it's a pretty boring ass game. Like,
and they're trying to make it too much like actual real Hot Wheels.
I don't. That's not even true either. Like, I don't even. I've been trying to think about how to describe this game, and like in words that are other than dull. It's like, it looks pretty good. Like, visually, it's nice. They do really great work actually on making the plastic Hot Wheel cars look plasticky and small and tiny. Like the visuals of the toys are pretty great, and like when you finish a race, they're like scuffed up in all the right places, like on the curves and stuff like that, and or there might be a giant fingerprint mark on one of them. Like that. Love has gone into that, into recreating Hot Wheels as they should look. But that's kind of where it ends. Like it's the gameplay is like you're okay. You're on the Hot Wheels track. You're going forward. You get boost for drifting around turns, and you race. There's no power ups or anything like that. There's no like Mario Kart style mechanics or anything like that. So it's not like 2K Drive in that sense. You're just driving, which would be fine if the driving mechanics felt technical and like there would be like, I feel like why I'm doing better or worse. You know, there was a nuance to it, I guess, you know, something you could feel like you're learning from. But I don't feel like there's anything to learn in this game. It's like you just drive it, you drift it. Sometimes the drifts work, sometimes they don't. I don't understand why. Sometimes you'll do a perfectly tuned drift around the corner. Sometimes you'll be turning like 90 degrees into the turn, but going perfectly sideways and just slam into the wall. And I cannot figure out the nuance to it. Like it just seems to happen well sometimes and not the others. And it's not, in a weird way, it's not arcadey enough. Maybe there is some layer of nuance to it, but it's indecipherable. It's like trying to drift in Rage Racer, right? Like you can get by in Rage Racer without drifting. You cannot get by in this without drifting. Like you have to do it if you want the boost in order to do well, in order to go fast, in order to win the race. And it's, like hitting the walls, when you hit the wall, I can't tell if that's actually slowing me down by a lot or a little. Because there's no on-screen speed indicator, and the way the game feels, like you can't really see that you've slowed down all that much either. So I don't really have a feel for what works and what doesn't. I'm probably going to drop this one like a stone because it's just not interesting. Yeah, but this is the weird thing. It's sort of reviewed quite well when it came out, and I don't understand why. Is it just because I bet of me's wondering, like, is the arcade racer like landscape really that barren that this came out and they were like, oh, an arcade racer, it's great. Wow, we haven't seen one of these in ages. I really enjoy these. And it's like, you should go back and play some good ones. You're missing out, Bo. Bo?
Call out, shout outs to random reviewer called Bo.
I'm just calling this guy Bo. Yeah, this random reviewer. He's Bo now.
Come on, Bo. You're missing out, Bo.
Bo Critic Man. Yeah, it's not very interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's got like you can have the actual Barbie like camper, like the one they actually made, and you can drive that if you want. To the point where even Gnome was like, I had one of those, and I was like, that's kind of cool, but
kinda, yeah.
But also, like, cool. Good luck family. I can't. Like, the cars all have stats as well, and I'll be like, okay, I seem to be ballsing up the drifting a bit. I'll pick a car with higher handling. That makes sense, right? Maybe I'll be able to grasp it. Nope, handle's exactly the same. and I don't say like, oh, I'll pick a car that's okay, fine. I can't get to handle with the drifting. Then I'll just pick a car that powers through, that has like high speed and high acceleration. Nope, makes no difference at all. I seem to be positioning and like having the same amount of trouble or success in races that I was before. Maybe all that's a lie. I don't understand. I just don't understand this game. Like, it's not. But I have no desire to. Like, it doesn't make me want to. Anyway, that's Hot Wheels Unleashed. That's a bit of a shame. And that's pretty much me. I played around Point Blank. I got the gun out, shot some things. Felt a bit better.
Was that cathartic?
Yeah, that felt good. Point Blank's always good. Go for it. That's me.
Oh, and that's probably a podcast.
Oh, I played some more Buggy Boy because I couldn't help myself. Buggy Boy's cool.
Dilling, dilling. Okay.
I mean, I was playing
the entire experience of playing Buggy Boy.
I was playing the arcade version, and Zach saw me play it last week a little bit, and the scale's real nice, the arcade version, but it's harder. I'm sure it's harder than the ST version.
Well, wouldn't be surprising. Got to extract some money.
Yeah, get that money.
I mean, I can get into the dip switches on the main build, and you can make it easier, but I kind of don't want to. Like, this is the game. Like, I want to try. Anyway, is that a podcast?
I believe so. And we'll be back. I mean,
one person in the time this being is a podcast.
Is our YouTube channel, which currently we've started a let's play of the classic Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Which is a good one for sure. So definitely check that out.
It's currently not yet destroying my nostalgia for it, which is important.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's
talk about
a fun one to watch.
Inadequate PC ports, though. Man, I wish that had better controller support than it does. But okay.
Oh well, we'll struggle through it on your behalf, listeners. So check that out, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks for Zelda-a-thon. Yep. the Saladcast. We shall return. Catch you then. Goodbye.